Friends, hello. June 11th, 2023, Virtual Strangers episode 190 is on the air. I, of course, am your host, Wes. With me, as always, are my good friends. Eric, welcome home, brother.
Thanks, man. It's good to be home. Finally, 2 weeks later.
2 weeks. Feels like it's been like a month, man. Like you've been everywhere, jet setting all across the continental U.S.
Yeah, you too, though, man. You're traveling too, like crazy, and got a chance. I got a chance to hang out with you, and I got a chance to hang out with Ruuts and D. And so whatever it had to go through to get that done, man, it was all worth it. It was 100% worth it.
Good times. And of course, my good friend Ruuts. It's my birth month, bro. Where's my party?
Ooh,
happy birth month.
Birth month.
Yeah.
Birth month. Is that what this is my birth year?
Well, Spry Guys. Every day is Spry Guy's birth year and birthday. But yeah, birth month. Happy birth month, Wes. I never said that
Thank
before,
you.
I don't think.
That's what people do now. They just take a month.
Let's take a month. I'm going to take a month off, you know.
Take a month.
My birthday. I'm just enjoying the AC. Nice old crisp, cool air in my room. Giving myself a reason to play VR this summer, which is exciting because last 4 years you've heard me bitch about it, right, Wes? I keep debating, do I get a portable air unit or not, and pulled the trigger, and it's been good so far. So
that's awesome.
Boom.
You know, it's
More
hard.
VR all summer long.
Yeah,
Right. It's hard to do otherwise, man. You're putting the headset on. I mean, even if you're comfortable enough, if the room, I don't know how it is there, but in Kentucky here, if you start to get it the least bit warm, the lenses get super fogged up, and it's just not good. So yeah, I'm happy for you.
there's no fogging here because it's pretty dry. But so what goes on? The rest of the house is pretty nice. I'm upstairs, and so I don't get as much of the AC, and I surmise that there's probably no insulation above me in the attic or space. It's just probably open. I've never been up there, so I don't know. So it gets pretty hot up here, and to the point where it's been, I told you it's been, I was telling you before the show, it's been raining here for weeks. I don't think it's broke 80, and my room was getting hot already. And I'm like, fuck, that's what made me decided. I'm like, dude, I'm getting hot already, and it's not even breaking 80 yet. What happens in a week and a half when we break this, whatever this weird cycle that's been going on, and we start to get hot like we're supposed to?
So basically, you bought an air conditioner so you don't have to ever CD anymore.
Yeah, I got the door shut, and I told her, don't you dare try to suck up any of my cold air. I've been telling her how nice
Who
and
else
cool.
likes to suck everything up?
Oh,
My mom, let's see.
My mom!
Oh, it worked.
I think it worked.
It did.
My mom!
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't see it on the Go XLR, but it clearly came through the mic, so that's good.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah, that's good.
So Eric, you got home yesterday. Did you miss your VR headset? You been playing anything since you got home?
Yeah, dude. I actually got home Friday, but it felt like yesterday because I didn't get home till like 2 a.m.
Right.
So I guess it was yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I did get a chance to play a little bit yesterday. So I stream on Saturday nights. So I'm like, hey, man, this is going to be my Saturday night. I'm going to stream and do all kinds of great stuff. And I'm like, well, you know what? I haven't really done a solo chat since forever. Probably since I first started, right? That was how I first started, just doing solo chats. So I'm like, I'll go in and I'll just chat with everybody for, maybe 45 minutes. Maybe open up a thing or two I got stashed around that I got while I was away. 2 hours later, I'm like, I got to play a game here at some point tonight. 2 hours later, I mean, Jesus, I cannot get into a every time I try and start talking, I have to bring everything into a podcast thing. I got to make everything into a big thing. I need to stop doing that. I just need to be happy about stuff.
It's hard, right? It's hard, especially in times like this where there's so much going on. It's kind of hard not to just get in a super deep conversation about some of the things that have broken over the last couple of weeks.
So what do you mean, Eric, as far as you say that you just have to be happy with stuff? So were you just talking about stuff that's upsetting with you?
Yeah, no, it's just, somebody was in the chat, somebody new, and they were like, hey, what's the best, I see all your headsets. What's the best headset? So I'm like, I start going through every headset and what's a good headset, what's a bad headset. And, and eventually that leads me to a million different things that I start complaining about. There's so many headsets that just aren't good enough. You know what I mean? And so instead of going, wow, we have all these amazing headsets and think of the positives, I end up like going and looking like, look at all these headsets, and not one of them is the perfect headset. That's, you know what I mean? Instead of saying, wow, it's amazing that we had that we're in a market where there's this many people making headsets, instead I start harping on everything that's wrong with every one of these headsets that doesn't make it a great headset.
But is that not
like
true?
I'm looking at
That's true.
No, it's 100% true. Yeah, but I would prefer to start thinking at things in a more positive manner and in a less shitty manner, I guess. I don't know.
My only problem with that
know.
is it seems like to me, overall, the entire VR industry, or I guess what we do, is overly positive about everything. There's not many people that want to hold people to task, or hold people, developers, feet against the fire, or do what you did and say, look, this is the reality, man. There's not one fucking headset that does everything perfect. Not even perfect, mostly good. There's the glaring problem with almost every single one. What's the problem, right? There's a disconnect, I think. So I don't know.
So what would you say the problem would be with a perfect headset like the Pimax Crystal?
But Wolfie,
I actually opened one of those last night. They sent me a new one, so I
Oh.
actually have one.
Wolfie's
Nice.
right, though. Perfect is silly, suggestive word. There really is no perfect anything, but we should be able to have everything be functional, because it seems like almost every headset has something that's not functional. It's in a glaring way, you know?
So you say there's no perfect headset. My question to that would be, why do you hate PSVR 2, Ruuts?
I love PSVR too.
So thanks everyone for showing up and hanging out with us today, watching live on YouTube. You know, we fail to mention it a lot of the time, but we are also available on the audio podcast service of your choice. We're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on a number of them. And I thought, in the spirit of that, that we'd take a look at this cool list that I found on the internet. That's the top 10 or 15 best virtualization podcasts. Someone sent this to me in my email the other day, and I started scrolling through it just to see if I've heard of some of these podcasts, and most of them I haven't.
What's the virtualization podcast?
Well,
I guess
that's what this says. You never.
What? We are?
I guess.
Yeah.
Holy crap! I want to put that on my resume.
We must be.
Virtualization.
We must be, because if you scroll down this list right around the number 9, you'll see what? Virtual Strangers.
Wow.
Why do they have us at number 9? I mean, this guy obviously doesn't know what he's talking about.
I think it's because there hasn't been. Actually, Dee said she was going to volunteer to start putting the audio version over. She said it'd be easy, and so I just need to get her access to it so we can get caught up. But yeah, that's cool that we're number 9. It makes me feel like we could be number 4 if we had everything loaded up on a more timely manner.
Dude, I'm like 50 episodes behind probably.
Oh, you mean down
That's
on the
not good.
list?
Oh yeah. No,
No.
I don't even know. I don't think we're on the list because I don't upload. I never uploaded the
Audio. Oh, I get you. Yes.
I want to
that's the
think.
thing.
Let me look just real quick. I bet you. Like, I think we're at episode 98. Let me see what's the last one.
It's daunting because once you get past a certain point, then it's like, there's so many, and I'm like, oh man, I feel should.
Do you feel dirty?
I feel dirty. I absolutely do. Scion says he still has not bought a PSVR 2. Most of the games don't interest me. Apparently, I'm as picky about games as I am about headsets. Hey, I say you do you, and when you're ready to get in, when there's games that are compelling enough, you'll buy it. I was kind of feeling good, Wes, yesterday when I went to Best Buy to pick up my AC, or a couple days ago. No, it was yesterday. They had 6 PlayStation VR 2s behind the counter. No PlayStation 5s, but they had tons of the PlayStation VR 2s there.
Yeah, and I went to Walmart a couple of days ago, and they're on the shelf there as well. They only had 3 of them, but it's cool. They're in stores now. People can actually buy them.
Mm-hmm. Makes a
You know,
difference.
it's funny. A lot of people still really aren't aware of that PSVR 2 is even a thing. You know, I mentioned it to my nephew just this morning, and he was like, "Oh, PSVR 2, what's that? Is that better than the first one? Is the tracking still like it was before?" And I had to explain to him how awesome it is.
Did you show
yeah,
him?
a lot of Not yet, but
Oh.
we're going to do that later.
Well, make sure you put them in switchback for even questioning it. This is the first game
Although-
you have to play.
Well, my wheel and pedal is set up in the living room, so I thought I
Oh.
might show them Gran Turismo.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yep. Anyway, I do want to shout out Anuj Agarwal, who is the founder of FeedSpot, which is the host of this list. Shout out to him. Thank you for informing me that we're on this list, and it's linked up on our
Nice.
Discord if anyone else wants to check it out. So
We're at number 9.
number 9. I don't know if they're in
Can-
any sort of
I was
order.
gonna
I
say,
don't know.
Can
if
you,
it-
can you give me the first 8?
Well, you know what's weird is like.
Is there anybody
I
else
don't-
we know on this list?
No, I don't see like the
Upload
biggest.
VR.
Well,
Upload
yeah,
VR is the other one. The only one I recognized was the Upload VR.
I would
podcast.
say like one of the top ones should be the F Reality, right? Like that thing's pretty huge. It's not even on the list. It makes
But they don't talk about virtualization though. Rich.
Oh, that's
not
right.
like us.
Yeah, this is the
Wait a
virtualization.
minute, wait a minute, hold on. You got to talk
list.
about virtualization? Let me put that in the notes for Todd. We got to start talking about virtualization.
Start putting.
Yeah,
the
I'm at
hashtag.
episode 72 on the podcast.
Oh my god, dude, you're worse than me, dude. Okay, I don't feel so bad.
the last time I uploaded an episode, it was 12:20.
I mean, we are a YouTube like
Oh,
visual
shit, dude.
podcast, but because I used to listen to Roundtable and stuff, and I would download it, and or Anthony and I would listen to it through an MP4 converter and stuff. So I took the steps. So I've been there, and so it'll be a lot easier for people just to click a button.
So I just noticed that there's actually, if you click through, there's like almost 300. podcasts
Really?
on those lists.
What? Really?
Yeah. So maybe there's more on here that
Maybe we are on there.
You have to be on there, dude. You should be in the top 10, I think.
I agreed. I should be at least number 7.
It's number 1.
You know who's number? You know who's number 69?
My mom.
Oh yeah, all day, every day.
That's right. Anyway, lots of news dropping this past week since we were here a week ago. Eric, did you hear? I heard that Apple is putting out a headset, but it's not a VR headset. It is a spatial computing head-mounted device.
Oh,
Wow. Head-mounted device. That's nice.
spatial
Sounds-
computing.
It sounds fun. It
Fancy.
sounds great.
Sounds
Sounds
fancy,
It
right?
better sound fancy with that price tag.
$3,500 for this thing.
Hundo.
Roots,
Cheap.
that's the most expensive dev kit I've ever seen.
Yeah, but you know what? This is what I've been thinking about the most. It didn't make Brad blink at all, and he knows everything about all this technology, and the fact that he's like thinks that it's worth more than what they're charging in a sense. It definitely may be a dev kit, but I think it's going to blow a lot of people away, and it has
agree.
legitimized in a lot of people's Apple people's minds VR overnight, even though it's not technically VR, but it will play VR, and it's already got 3 or 4 games that we know that have been slated for it, right? So
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious, here a week later, what kind of influence that Apple as a company has, not just over the tech space, but the general public. Tim Cook was doing media the next day on nationally recognized programs, and Eric, it was so impactful that Mark Zuckerberg even did a small little media round to give his thoughts on it. I mean, that should tell you something right there.
Yeah, I mean, we knew this was going to be big. This was going to be big, right? I mean, when Apple comes out with anything, people are going to pay attention and listen, and and that's why I got extremely excited for this, just because of what it is and what people will look at it as, and whether anybody buys this thing or not, I don't think that really matters. I mean, the fact that Apple is getting into spatial computing or whatever you want to call it, to me, I'm still going to call it a VR AR headset. I don't care. Because it proved me wrong. Prove me wrong that it doesn't do VR, and I think I can prove you wrong. So whether you think that's gaming VR or not is a different story. But virtual reality is not just gaming. So I think this is big news, and if it legitimizes what we're doing and it brings light to it, to where everyday people that I literally had people that in my Facebook feed that are friends or friends of friends that don't really know what I do or give 2 shits about what I do, messaged me and said, "What is going on with this Apple headset that I have never heard from before about anything what I do?" So when those people take notice, it's a big deal. So I think it's, you know, whether you think this is amazing or not doesn't really matter. We all have to agree that basically something changed when they announced this headset.
Yeah.
And when they launch that headset, it will again too.
Well, it's going to make a big impact on a lot of people's personal relationships, because think about this, Ruuts. Now you can wear your headset all the time, and when you're spending special time with your significant other and you're watching adult entertainment in there, you don't have to break eye contact now, Ruuts. You can still maintain that personal connection with the person you're spending time with.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was thinking as well. I think it's definitely I think it's a good thing. You know, I think we should all be sharing porn together. Well, maybe not.
They should run an advertisement, Eric, where two people wearing the headset, slow dancing, and they could play that song. What was it? Firehouse. When I look into your eyes. Remember that one?
I do. It's a great one.
Yeah.
So romantic. No, but all jokes aside, I do think this was a kind of a moment, right? Something that we'll look back on 10 years from now when we're looking back at the timeline of how consumer XR came into prominence. And I think that this is going to be a major inflection point. And I think, whether it's accessible right now to the general public is really irrelevant. What it's going to bring is it's going to bring competition with regards to innovation, not just, the last couple of years, the competition's all been based around accessibility. I think this is going to move it a little bit more in the other direction and make it so that there's a bit of competition with regards to the actual technology and innovation. I mean, again, we said that Mark Zuckerberg did a little bit of media this week. There was an article that dropped, I think, yesterday that at the SIGGRAPH conference that's coming up in a few months in Los Angeles, Meta's bringing a prototype headset that has retinal resolution or near retinal resolution, but it also has varifocal. So you saw that, huh?
Yeah, actually I did. And I thought it was funny too, because how many things has Meta done? A lot of things, where they've showed a lot of tech off. One thing they didn't do is do what Apple did and just lay it out there. And this is the fucking amazing best headset you're ever going to have. And it's going to be a lot of money, but this is going to be the thing. But yeah, I think that the varifocal lenses to me is bigger than people think. I surmise that's why we all feel tired after you play several hours of VR. You may be looking in the distance in a game, but your eyes are still this far from the screen, and you know what I mean? Once they have those varifocal lenses and you can actually really be looking in the distance, and your eyes won't be strained as much, I think you'll get less strain, less headaches, less tiredness, and they'll be the biggest thing. If they do it right, they'll be able to market to kids, because right now they can't, because they say they don't know if it'll mess their eyes up. But if they can fix that problem to where it's not gonna, they know it won't mess their eyes up, then they can start to get rid of that under 13 thing.
Right, and being able to focus on virtual objects in a natural way with your eyes. I feel like it's going to be something that people are just going to be able to feel. Like, it's not going to be something you can look at and point to, and it's not going to be super obvious. But it's one of those things like high frame rate, where it just makes things feel more real and immersive. And I believe it's going to be a game changer whenever we do start to get varifocal in our headsets. Eric, our friend Jeff Rayner is in the chat. For those of you who don't know Jeff, he's the head of a VR software studio. And he says, we have 2 clients that have asked us to develop for the Apple Vision Pro, despite limited knowledge of its features or it being fully tested and tried. He says it's fascinating that the Apple brand just has that much influence. And that's a perfect example, Jeff. Thank you.
No, you got
100%.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's good. I was going to say it's 100% right. People will want to develop for this just because it's Apple. It doesn't even matter. Like, people will be like, I don't know anything about it, but it's Apple and I need to be a part of it. And
Well-
that's the effect that Apple has.
And they want to get their, I mean, wouldn't you want to be you want to be one of the first, right? One of the first apps out there, one of the best ones out there when this thing takes off. So it's kind of like a race to get out there as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, and Dead Ringer, the Game Cat, had said earlier, he said if Nintendo made a VR headset, it would matter more. And I agree and disagree. I'll agree that if they made a VR gaming headset, that it would matter more. But this is not a VR gaming headset. This is a spatial computing headset that does virtual reality, or what they want to call immersive reality, whatever they want to call it. But I think that this means more because of what Apple wants to do with it. They want to make it a headset where you can do kind of everything. And I think Nintendo would never do that. Nintendo is a gaming company. They make great. They're not even a big hardware company. They do make hardware, but they'd prefer just to make software for their hardware. So to me, a bigger splash. There's not a bigger splash, I don't think, right now than Apple making this type of headset. That is something that everybody can use. This is not just for gamers. There's applications here. There's social here. There's business here. This is one of those headsets that kind of has it all. And think that's what interests me the most with this headset.
Do you doubt what they said they're going to do, Eric, with how they showed that the iPod and the iPhone, and they like systematically basically came out and said you're all going to be wearing this thing in a sense in 5 years. You know, in my mind, that's what they're saying is this is the future. And if it's not iPhone, it'll be Samsung. It'll be some form of version of it. So I think this is way bigger than. I mean, look at the iPhone, how it transitioned everything, and everyone had these smartphones. You know, it all started there, right? To some extent, and I think this is going to be no different.
Yeah, the first smartphone was something that people mocked and ridiculed. The price point was way out of people's typical budget, and we saw very much a very similar reaction to the first iPhone that we're seeing to the Apple Vision Pro now. Which again just kind of lends credence to the idea that this is going to end up being a pretty big deal. And as far as Nintendo goes, well, I'd say that it's probably true that a Nintendo headset would have a bigger impact in our personal lives directly as gamers. When I say we, I mean us, people watching the show. But Eric's absolutely right. In the big picture of public acceptance and awareness and the use of XR devices in, you know, your general everyday life, I don't think there could have been a bigger player jumping the ring than Apple right now. So it's a big deal. And by the way, for what it's worth, Nintendo will do a headset one day. When it happens, the hardware specs are going to be like 5 years behind everything else that's on the market. But what they'll end up doing is what they always end up doing. There will be 2 or 3 features on there that are completely creative and unique to the Nintendo headset. And then, of course, Eric, they're going to support it with their IPs, which is what sells all Nintendo hardware. It's those IPs, the ones that we started on when we first picked up controllers all those years ago.
Yeah, and you know, that's why I say I don't disagree with it. Like I kind of like agree and disagree. Like to me, it would be huge news if Nintendo came out and said, "Look, we are going to support a VR headset, or we're going to make our own VR headset, and we're going to have our IPs on there." That's huge news. Like in maybe in more of our exact bubble of what we do in virtual reality, because we're more about gaming than anything else. So I definitely think that would be huge news. I mean, it would be huge. It would blow the top off of everything, and I think it would have an effect on the VR landscape. It absolutely would. I mean, another console war, Nintendo, you know, it would be a VR console war, but Nintendo against, you know, Sony against Meta. I mean, that would be great for everybody. We would just need Xbox in there or Microsoft in there at some point. But yeah, I mean, I think it would be huge, but that's not kind of what we're getting at here. This is more of what, again, Meta wants to do. This is what Meta wanted to do. Meta wanted to do this, but they don't have the Apple behind them. Like Meta would never be able to get away with doing this. It just wouldn't happen. Right. If Meta tried to do this headset at $3,500, people would laugh. Everybody would laugh.
Well, you saw what happened when they released the Quest Pro at $1,500. Yeah. People just tore it to shreds, right?
And it's a good headset, but people tore it to shreds because it was the price thing, and that was the biggest thing. Like, to me, I said, and that's what I said early on. The biggest problem with the Quest Pro is the Quest Pro itself being the price it is. The Quest Pro's price hurt it more than anything else. Like, if that headset was $750, people would have loved it, and they would have lauded how great it is and how much better it is than the Quest 2, and how far it's come, and they wouldn't even have started comparing it to a Pico 4. I mean, that's laughable, by the way.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, to me, this is where Meta wanted to be, but they can't be that. They know now they can't be that. The Quest Pro showed them that pretty damn quickly. So I think that is why we are seeing so many games coming for the Meta Showcase, from the Meta Showcase and Meta this fall, and that's why I think they're going to lean hard into the Quest 3, and that's why, like, this it's so funny with this Apple thing and this Quest thing. So, like, automatically everybody wanted to start comparing this Apple headset with the Quest 3, and it's like the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And then you have people like way up here saying the Apple headset is ridiculous and sucks, and then you have other people on the other end going, well, Quest 3 is dead on arrival. Like, are you kidding me?
Oh.
Like, what you have to look with less, like, you cannot bring your biases into this. Like, if you hate Apple or hate Meta, that's fine. But look at the hardware. Look what we're doing. You're talking about two completely different things. If you think Apple coming out and putting this headset out there, especially at $3,500, did anything but help sell more headsets for Meta this fall, you're crazy. You're going to see a ton of people want to go buy this. All this did was bring more light to virtual reality, and an affordable virtual reality headset is the Meta Quest 3.
Right, and it can do some of what the Apple can do, some of the cool things that the Quest 2 can't do, but it's actually attainable for almost all of us. You know what I mean? Like, the Apple headset is so far out of my reach that, I mean, I don't even think about it. But then I'm thinking, like you said, I think it spurred more sales.
Yeah, absolutely.
Personally,
And they're sitting in a great position now with Quest 3. I mean, first of all, because of the Quest Pro, launching that device out there at $1,500, you basically prime the marketplace and say, look, if you want a consumer mixed reality headset today, this is what it costs, right? And then you have Apple come out behind that with another headset that tells the public, okay, mixed reality is something that you want, but this is what it costs. Now people are saying, well, I can't afford the Quest Pro, let alone Apple Vision Pro. Well, now here comes Quest 3 that gives you that mixed reality experience for an affordable price tag. I think they're going to sell a lot more headsets now,
and
because of how this is played out.
Double the power. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many good selling points for that Quest 3. To think that it's dead on arrival is just fantastically naive. It's just, I can't believe anybody would actually say that or think that, but.
Agreed. I'm just as excited. Like, I freaked out last week. You guys were in CruCast. I freaked out. Like, I was extremely excited, and I still am. I took like a week and like kind of took a pause, and I was like, I need to, like, because there was some, I mean, you guys were hearing it. I'm same as I was. There's so many people telling us how we were like way wrong in this. So I'm like, wow. I mean, even just in that chat during CruCast, I was like, wow. I mean, 75% of the chat was like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, man, I need to take a step back, because maybe I'm completely out there, and I do get excited about hardware. I think we all do. So I'm like, I need to take a step back. I need to like take a step back. I need to go listen to some people that have already tried to done the demo. And then I want to go back, and I want to, like, a couple days later, I went back and I watched that whole part of the showcase that Apple did. I watched the whole VR part of it again. And this was like 4 days later, and I was just as excited after that as I was when they announced it. So the hype for me was over, and I was still feeling all the excitement, because actually I was starting to hear things, Wes, that I didn't hear before. Like, did you hear freaking the spatial audio ray tracing that they have? I mean, these are things that I didn't even see the first time, or hear the first time, that I'm like picking up now the second time. And I'm like, I'm way excited all over again. I mean, it's going to map your room to help the audio hit your ears better, depending on what room you're in. That's insane.
And you can capture a moment in time in full 3D just by hitting a button. That is awesome.
I'm getting it. I changed my mind. I'm selling a kidney.
You know what I said last night? I said, look, most people are not going to get this headset. And you want to know what? Apple doesn't care, dude. They don't care about you. They don't
Right.
care about Joe Schmo. They don't give two shits. They care about the prosumer who's all Apple, who's going to buy their shit, and they're out there. They could care, and I get it. You know, I feel bad. You know, companies are not making stuff for everybody. It's too bad. I apologize. I'm sorry. The Apple doesn't care about you. They don't care about the average guy who can't afford this headset. They just don't.
They shouldn't, or else they wouldn't have an amazing headset with all. Like it's like everybody bitched. They said we want this. We want all the bells and whistles. Well, now we see what that costs because that hardware. I mean, like you said, there's so many things it does that we're just finding out. And I haven't found one person that's put it on their face that didn't say good things about it. So, I don't know. I would love to get it, and if in some fantastical way somebody sent me one, I'd take it, or maybe somehow I come into $5,000, I would probably pick it up.
You know who else loves to get it?
You know who else could be picked up for $5,000? Actually, way less.
What? $5,000? That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah, dude. That's like a year's worth in one sitting, right? Crazy.
Anyways, it's exciting times to be in the space that we're in, and we're super blessed to be experiencing it all together. We have a big show lined up today.
Sure.
We've got some news to talk about. We're going to do Game of the Month. We've got stuff coming out this week. We have a lot to talk about. So why don't we get the thing kicked off the way we always do by saying hello to our friends in chat. Wolveraza is here. What's up, Wolvie? As is Shapeshifter, the amorphous game cat. A lot of people talking about prawn in the chat now. My bad. you know, it's good that I have my own show because, like, I want to make these jokes when I'm on GT's air and I can't quite do it. And I want to make these jokes when I'm on Brian's air and I can't quite do it. We're home now, boys. We can make all the jokes we want.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
on GT's, on the CruCast, just like suggest something to Ruuts and he'll probably end up saying it anyway. Probably shouldn't, but he does. But yeah, no, I think that I agree.
What's up, Bluebell? What's up, Jeunesse Sais Quoi? What's up, Michelle B? Ryan Brannon. What's up? Gabriel 004, the license to meow game cat. What's up, Lesser Logic? Boognish 66, Hawk 107, Show. What's up, Show? Show Futuristic is here. Silver Nexus is here. We already said hello to Jeff Rayner. What's up, Jeff? Scrolling. Traveling Man 3775, Virtual Slayer Cat. Good to see you. What's up, Tatum? Jim Hall's here, Ruuts. What the hell?
I'm glad you mentioned Jim Hall because I was going to ask you guys a bet and Jim can actually answer it. What do you think the odds? I say they're very good. I would bet he does pick up this headset.
He's getting this headset.
Because he's talking himself into it, and he will. By the time it comes out, he'll be so bullish for this fucking thing, he might get two. Maybe not.
The other bet should be like how long until it's in his closet and he's like, using it.
The hackers get a hold of this thing and make it run Steam VR.
Oh, dude, who knows? But I'll tell you what.
That would change everything.
I think Jim uses this headset like Todd does for work, and I think falls in love with it. So that's what I get.
Todd's going to totally get one too, right, Eric? Like Todd.
He is, but I have some issues with Todd. I just do, and he knows it. Because he's out of control. Like he's going so far the opposite way now. Like he's still getting a big screen beyond. Because I was like, well, Todd, you're going to cancel your big screen beyond order, right? Because he's like, no, I'm getting the big screen beyond. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute. The big screen beyond is $1,000. Like, where do you think in the rotation of all your freaking headsets are you going to get time to use the big screen beyond? And you know, and here's my thing. I said, you're going to buy a Quest 3, right? He's like, yep, I'm getting a Quest 3. I'm like, look, I just don't understand where the big screen beyond is a cool looking headset. And it's tiny, and so, you know, maybe it is an upgrade, but to me, it's not enough of an upgrade for me to go spend $1,000 on a headset that I'll probably never put on. Like Todd has a Quest Pro, he's got a Quest 3, he's got a Valve Index, he's going to get the Apple headset.
That's the thing.
Where do you put it?
Valve is coming. Like I could understand him wanting to get both if the landscape was static, but it's not. We know that Valve is coming with a headset. We know that Samsung is coming with a headset. Like where does big screen beyond fit in to that picture, it gets a little more hairy.
In that particular instance with Todd, I think this is perfect. He picks up big screen because then he'll have too many. Maybe he sends the Pro to Ruuts or the big screen. You can send whichever one you want, Todd, to me. I'll take it. You got too many. So
James is here. Says, makes me think if Meta had pushed back the Quest 3 to 2024, the announce for the Quest Pro after the Vision Pro announcement for $1,500, and probably would have bought it because of the Vision Pro sticker shock. That's a good point.
yeah. But this is the thing. The hardware is so inferior compared to the Mac. You know what I mean? Like this Apple headset, it's just like not night and day. That was one of the biggest problems for the price point. Was not only the price point, but is it worth that cost? Even though Eric says it is, Brad and other people were saying no, and $1,000's a little bit more reasonable, I think.
Yeah, but in the context of all of this, it is kind of an apples and oranges comparison because, after you watch that presentation for Apple Vision Pro, looking at any of these headsets, whether you're talking about big screen or you're talking about Quest Pro or Quest 2, they all look like toys in comparison. Like that seems like a high-end piece of equipment, and the rest of these seems like baby's toys.
Yeah.
It does. It does, man. It's I don't know. I'm looking for the next VR big headset to me now. Because I see the Apple, I'm gonna try and get that. But I'm like, I want to see what I want to have some of that power in a gaming headset. So it's like, when is that headset coming? Like I'm ready for my next prosumer headset that I need to start selling stuff for. Like, where's that headset that makes Wes go, okay, what can I get for that, and what can I get for that? Because we have had those headsets where you've done this. Like, where is that next headset? Is it the Deckard? But when the fuck are we going to see that?
Yeah, I started talking about this on Friday, actually. Like, I'm looking at that haptics vest over there. Like, I could probably get $400 for that, and that would be a nice chunk off of my Deckard when it drops, right?
Well, and people were in the chat or messaging me on Discord and saying that now is the time I should start looking into buying one of these. After you're saying you barely touch yours and you want to get rid of it, I'm thinking I don't know that I want to go out and get a vest,
And don't get me wrong, I love it. It's great. Whenever I use it, it's an amazing experience. But all I'm saying is that it seems like the time is coming up soon where that $400 is going to be worth more to me than that vest.
Yeah, so absolutely. Brandon VR says this show has gotten sidetracked. Well, considering this is the second part, we're talking about Apple enters mixed reality with 3500 Vision Pro headset. I'd say we're right on track. Although Wes did just get done saying we need to get the show going because we have a lot of stuff to go.
Oh no! Hey, wait. Let me sidetrack it a little bit more because this is one of the things I opened up last night for the audience.
Okay. What is it?
That.
The Pimax. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So they finally sent me this little guy.
Is it a battery?
Portal.
The
it
portal.
looks like a battery, doesn't it? It's the freaking portal, man.
You're locked up or something. Your camera, I can't see. You're not moving.
Yeah,
is it locked up?
I meant to mention this to you earlier. You're dropping frames like crazy. I don't know if you've got something running in your background, like a bunch of web browsers open or a game.
Man. Close the prawn.
Yeah, let me close the prawn. Am I still freezing? Can you see the portal?
Oh, well, we saw it for a second there. You held it up and then, but yeah, it's kind of freezy. Oh, there we go. Kind of looks like a Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Well, I happen to have one right here because this was the biggest thing. This is why I just brought this up. It looks like the little younger brother of the Steam Deck. Like it makes it. I don't know. This Pimax thing is tiny, man. This is one of the big. And Wes, we've tried this.
Yeah.
But I don't remember it being this small. Okay, here's the Steam Deck. I hope
Holy
I'm still not freezing, but
yeah.
And here's the Pimax, dude. Look at the size difference,
dude.
The Pimax is not even this. It's almost the same size as the screen alone.
It looks like the top one, the bigger one. The Steam Deck looks like for Skiva's hands, and then the Pimax are for Ruuts' hands.
You know who loves it when it's a lot bigger?
Yeah.
I do like they have magnetic of the controllers come off magnetically. They just basically pull right off, and then just magnet back.
No, it seems like a pretty cool device. aside from the supposed VR functionality that it has, as a handheld, it seemed like a pretty cool device. I'm not sure what the market's going to be like for them. When we talked to them directly about it, they're targeting people who like retro gamers who like to emulate.
Mhm.
And for what it's worth, I have heard a little bit from people within that space that they're looking forward to trying it out. So maybe they're right. Maybe there is a market there for it. I'm not so sure how well it's going to do in its Gear VR mode.
You know,
That's just it. So this is what it looks like. This just slides into a freaking like this.
my thoughts on Pimax are 100% opposite of Apple. Like Apple says this is what's coming out, and I'm like, oh fuck, that's what's coming out. Pimax says this is what we are putting out. I'm thinking, is it? Like, will it ever happen? In some form or fashion, and will you joyway it and skip to the next game? I Pimax to me, I would never get a Pimax. I say I salute everybody that still has faith in them. My faith sailed a year and a half, 2 years ago.
But Ruuts, they're bringing out a 12K headset by the end of 2023. What are you talking about?
yeah, and then I'll fund it. I'll pay for my headset, and they'll say, "Oh, we're putting out this new one. It's 18K, and we're going to put that one out first, and then we'll get to your 12K. You know, when we get around to it."
12K standalone, Eric. I'm in.
I'm down. Let's go. Let's go. Pimax just keeps coming out with more stuff. They're gonna have like it's gonna be the Pimax like Roomba, or a Pimax coffee pot. I'm ready.
They're going to come out with a headset called the Pro Vision.
Yeah,
the Pimax Pro Vision.
that's right.
Damn, that sounds good.
That's a good idea.
Scions here says, come on, Oprah and Apple Vision Pro giveaway.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? You know, I'm already trying to figure out how I'm going to give freaking Apple Pro Vision away.
Yeah. Well, if you can get somebody to sponsor it, that's the easiest.
So that's it.
I want to get somebody to sponsor me getting one.
we need to be talking to our clients about doing Vision Pro giveaways instead of Quest Pro giveaways.
Right.
Seriously, though that might be a little harder conversation for us.
This is my thing, Eric.
But,
if I was you, I know you love that monitor. That fucking thing is gone. It's gone, dude. Like, there's no way that headset will serve you a million ways to Sunday over that monitor just for your channel alone. So, like, I think it needs to happen.
That headset could be my new monitor. Brandon VR says Mash accidentally buys two and gives one away.
It's happened before.
Definitely not. It definitely not.
Mash's wife leaves him and says this.
I swear this is
straw.
But this is how big this is. This is the first time that I was like, I talked to my wife right after the thing was over, and she's like, I know, you're getting one. Usually it's like, she's like, you're not getting one. And then I figure out a way to get one. But now she this time she's like, oh no, I know, it's coming. So like, even she's like resolute to the fact that, this is a freaking crazy, amazing headset that people are going to have to get.
That's great. You've broken her, Eric.
And
she's like, yeah.
Well, she probably said, oh, and guess what? Guess what I'm getting? Yeah, because you're getting that. This is what I'm getting. And then Mash is like, okay. So, win-win.
All right. Deal.
Traveling Man 3775 is here. Scott, the PSVR game cat for life. Here as well. Durbin Brown. Hello. Scrolling up. Ion Miller. Ion the Icon. Here as well. Radio Runt. What's up, brother? Idaho. Geisen. Here. Present. Bad Robo is present as well. Dead Ringer the Game Cat is here. Mr. Tasselhoff is here. Says it's toddler bedtime. Catch you later. Thanks for saying hello.
I remember those days.
Yeah, seems like yesterday, right?
It does, and it's also seems like a long time ago. And as bittersweet as it is to reminisce about it, I actually am so glad I'm past that. You know what I mean? I freed him. Remember when Mainfam was having a baby, and I was like, I felt like he was just getting in prison, and I was just about to get out because my youngest was turning 18. That's a good prison though.
VR Spry Guy is here. Happy birthday, Spry Guy.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Nice.
First month.
45 minutes we've already been going, Rogue says.
Wow.
Mark
It's the biggest
Pringlesleaf
intro
is
ever.
here. Looper of the Underground Game Cat. Aceville VR. Hello. What's up, fellas? Marcio, the Game Cat Dojo co-leader, is here. Takes 45 minutes just to scroll the top. London Rhodes is here. Time to Play VR is here as well. Oh, yee! Decepticon is here.
Oh, yeah.
Mind Jive. What's up, Mind Jive? Watt Marin or Matt Warren is here too. Alex VR is here. I didn't even see Alex slip in. What's up, bro?
What? Welcome to Denver. Where? I didn't see him.
You didn't see him in Denver?
No, I did see him in Denver.
Midlife Kid is here, and that, my friends, is as far up as I can scroll. If I missed you, I apologize. Hello, welcome, thank you for joining us. Spaced Innocent slipping in at the end, as is Mr. Lord Beavis, Tom Flesh Eater Gaming, Rogue TR, GameCat Photo Nutter. What's up, everyone? Ruuts, we have a few headlines to get in today. Not a lot, but, you know, we're going with quality today instead of quantity.
Yep.
Hellsweeper VR set for September release for PCVR, Quest 2, and PSVR 2. This from Harry Baker at Upload VR. Hellsweeper VR will release September 21st on PCVR, Quest 2, and PSVR 2. Publisher Vertigo Games announced the news alongside a new trailer last week ahead of the game's release in the fall. Originally set to release last year, a few delays saw Hellsweeper push from late 2022 to Q2 2023 and now into late Q3. However, this is the first nailed down release date for the game, so it feels a bit more set in stone. Plus, eager players will be able to give the game a try very soon. Alongside the release date and trailer, Vertigo announced that a demo of Hellsweeper VR will be available as part of the Steam Next Fest from June 19th to the 26th. Vertigo says that the demo will feature, quote, the complete offering, all game modes, weapons, magic, and 5 different maps to explore. We enjoyed Hellsweeper's fast-paced and intense combat when we tried it last year on the Gamescom show floor. The standout feature was the gesture-based weapon system, which lets you conjure weapons into your hands and merge them together to illuminate creative new combos. If you summon an item in each hand, you can smash them together to create a unique combination with different effects. Smashing my fireball onto my sword, for example, gave me a flaming sword. Likewise, combining a fireball and a bow together creates flaming arrows. You can even combine multiples of the same spell together. 2 fireballs merge to create one massive ball of energy, which I could shoot across the map and detonate at will. Hellsweeper launches on Quest 2, PSVR 2, and PCVR this September, with the Steam Next Fest demo available from June 19th. Ruuts, we played this game when it was very, very early in beta status, and this game was amazing fun back then. looking at the new trailer and all of the footage that we've been privy to since then, I think that this is going to be a hell of a title and a great time.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more polished than when we played it for sure, right? It looks a lot good, a lot better. And somebody in the Mark Pringlesleaf says it comes out the day after his birthday. Well, I got one better that says that's my birthday, September 21st. So if anybody wanted to know when Ruuts was born, obviously the day that Hellsweeper came out is well, supposed to be anyway.
The question is, Ruuts, how tall are you?
Yeah, does anybody? Well, Mash found out. I found out that I'm a little bit shorter than Alex VR. I'd probably say maybe half an inch or so. Like he's just a little bit taller than me, so I felt good. Well, D was there.
Short.
I was gonna say I was the shortest person, but D was there. So D was the shortest person. I was second shortest.
Eric, the movement alone in Hellsweeper VR is a bit of a revelation for like VR titles. I don't know that we've ever had more dynamic movement in a native VR title than we see in Hellsweeper.
Yeah, I mean, this game's all about movement. I mean, it's very, it's got that Sirento feel to it. I actually did get a chance to do the demo that they were talking about on Gamescom on the floor, and it was freaking awesome. It was one of the best things I did that day at the Vertigo booth, along with some After the Fall stuff, and it was really impressive back then. And I was like, wow. I mean, and they didn't have an idea of date when it was coming, but I was like, wow, that was pretty impressive. But yeah, I'm excited for this game. I don't like. Here's the only thing. I want to play this game, but I know that I'm going to want to play it. Like I don't even know if I'll play the Quest 2 version. Yeah. Like now that it's going to be great for people that only have Quest 2, but like if you have Quest 2 and I don't know, just say, let's not say you have everything, because nobody, I mean, very few people have everything, but let's just say you have a PSVR 2 and a Quest 2. What version are you going to go play? I mean, I don't think there's any thought, right? You're going to go play the.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, Ruuts, this thing launching concurrently on all major VR platforms. I'm playing this on PSVR, like for sure.
Absolutely. And I'm not worried about the cable either, because if I was playing PC or Quest, for that matter, I'd be using the cable anyway. I just do. I don't have it unhooked ever. So
I'll tell you what, though, there is an advantage to playing on PC, and it's this, Eric. I know we typically try to avoid most demos because they just basically ruin the gameplay and don't give us much. But this demo that's coming next week, 5 levels, all the weapons and magic. I mean, this seems like it's going to be a pretty substantial demo, right?
Yeah, and usually when they do stuff like this, when it's that like in depth, they know they have something. They very rarely are going to put five like levels of a subpar shitty game out there, because that would ruin them. Nobody would ever buy the game. So it makes me feel pretty confident that they know what they're getting into is going to be really good, and whatever it does tease, because it's a lot of stuff, it's going to be enough. There's still going to be more that you're going to be like, I didn't see anywhere near what I wanted to see, and I want more, and I'm going to go buy it. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I will be playing it during the next fest for sure. I actually forgot the next fest was coming already, but now I'm excited.
Rich, you going to check the demo out?
Yeah, I'll check it out. I mean, if it's got 5 levels, I'd be curious to see how much content, or if what Eric just said is actually the case. And I tend to agree. I think that, 5 levels, that's a lot of content. Either you're going to give away everything, or like you said, you're going to show people a shitty game, and then people are not going to buy it. Why would you put that much out? I don't think they would. And from what we saw before, when its early state, it was phenomenal then. So all of those things to me lead to it being a good game.
So Space was it Space Denison? No, it's Brandon VR. Ryan Brandon, Eric says, if you have a Quest or PCVR, you get B-haptic support as well. So that's a good point.
True.
That's true. That does make a difference. And do we know that if this is coming to Rift as well, or is it just Steam? It just says PCVR, right? So we don't know.
Yeah. Does anybody ever advertise that? Even if it does, I don't think anybody even mentions it anymore.
I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if it's coming to Rift. I was actually on the Rift store this morning just kind of browsing what's on there. Because we're doing Game of the Month, I wanted to see if there was anything we missed. But it's like tumbleweeds over there, man. Not a lot of titles come over to. I mean, there are occasional ones that go through it, but it doesn't pay for devs. Like when Quest first came out, it paid for devs to bring things to the Rift store because it was a selling point back then that cross buy was a bigger thing. Now that the Rift store isn't supported so much, it's kind of it goes against the overall goal, which is to make money, because by giving the game away on Rift, you're basically costing yourself sales on Steam. Not many, granted. Most people aren't playing on Quest and on PC as well anyway. But it's a lot of work for not so much return, at least in 2023.
Yeah, but the only thing though is if you see, to me, like if I was Meta and I knew it was coming to PlayStation, especially now that the PlayStation VR 2 is out there and is a definitely a competition to them, I would be pushing developers more to make me a PC version, because and the reason I asked if it's coming to Rift is if you can get both copies for one price, I would then probably say, with that plus the B haptics, I'll probably would go play it on the Quest or the PC version on the Rift store if I could, and that would make my determining factor. It makes me think, like, whenever I'm purchasing a game, I'm like, well, can I get it on both stores? Because especially for us, because we need to check out different versions. But I mean, for people who could play it standalone and play it on PC for the same price, it makes a difference. So for me, especially now, I would, if I was Meta, I would be pushing more people to go to the Rift store, especially. You can put them there pretty easily. I mean, I've seen games, and Wes, you've seen it now too, that you're behind the scenes. I've seen games make a Steam version just for the content creators or just for live support. Like I have actually seen a developer go, well, we're not going to sell a Steam version, but I'm going to go make a Steam version and unlist it just so we can go in and do live support for it, so we can get different, trailers and have live support in the trailers. And that's all they do, and they never even release it. So making a Steam version is not that hard, or making a Rift version even is not that hard. It's just getting it through the QA that's hard. So as long as you can get it through the QA, I mean, I would think about it if I was Meta, that's something I would be thinking about.
That's a good point. And I think that they should very much be considering, launching a new store, in place of the dead Rift store. And as Ruuts and I have said many times, they could call it the Link store, Quest Link
100%.
store.
They need to rename that thing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And the going forward, those titles or those versions of the titles can be maybe played from the cloud whenever they roll out cloud support for Quest. And it would provide, value to gamers being able to connect up to the cloud, play a higher quality version of their game. And what you're saying is true about certain developers supporting their games, supporting their standalone crowd with PC versions. We saw Breachers come to the Rift store for that reason, because it's so difficult to stream from Quest. Well, they were like, fine, you can actually run the game in spectator mode on the Rift store, just so you can capture it while you're playing on Quest, which is really cool.
Yep.
Anyway, I had someplace I was going to go with that, and I completely lost my frame of mind.
I just think that the ship sailed. Not that they couldn't, but why would they do it now at this point? Like, they've already got everybody. They could have been doing it this whole time. They could have, they at the beginning they had the whole, you're getting the, buying one version. Is it a cross buy? And that went out the window. They didn't support it for a year and a half, 2 years. And so everybody's just ignored the store. I would think it would make more sense. And I think it's more likely that they're going to combine it into one store at some point for the cloud. And they're just letting this store die, because eventually everything that everybody's going to be playing cloud-based game on their headset anyway down the road. So,
who else has the whole Ruuts?
My mom!
Oh yeah, it's a deep one.
Quest, super interesting on that poll, dude. To see the numbers, I mean, I'm a little shocked that more people didn't think about Quest 2 and went directly towards PSVR 2. Again, that's where I would go, but I was just surprised that almost 40 people voting.
Wow.
That's where everybody. I mean, it's stark, 70% to 13% or 69% to 13%.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. By the way, for those of you who are not in the chat, I put a poll in the chat just to ask what platform are you playing Hellsweeper on. I'm not exactly shocked that PSVR 2 is coming in with a strong lead. We have a heavy PSVR 2 base in our community. What surprises me a little bit is second place. Steam is coming in second place. Only 12% of people are in our chat right now are going to be playing Hellsweeper on Quest 2.
How many of that?
Very interesting.
How much of that 12% are people that's all they have? Like 10%? Because that's all they have is the Quest 2, right? I don't think many people, if you have the option, you're just not leaning towards getting the Quest version probably on any game.
Here's the thing too, and I probably should have thought about this before I put the poll out there, but this thing's coming out in September. A week after the game comes out is when we're getting the big info drop on Quest 3. So that might sway the balance a little bit after Quest 3 comes out.
That's true. This could be a definitively better version. How many games do you think will actually utilize that extra power, right, for the games? How many games do we have that come out now? And PlayStation's a very good example of this, where you have a much better hardware, but devs just don't do shit with it. It's just like the same game. It's crazy. I don't know.
Well, the thing with PSVR 2, it's not that we're seeing a bunch of straight ports from PSVR 1 coming to PSVR 2 without using the features. Just the opposite, actually. Most of the games that are coming over, with a few exceptions, I'm talking to you, Transformers. Most of them make pretty good use of the features. The problem with PlayStation VR 2 is that those PSVR 1 games just aren't coming yet. Like there's like hundreds of them that we're still waiting on. So yeah, point taken.
Okay.
Bluebell says, I love Ubers. I love Ubers too, Bluebell. It's awesome. And there's news coming out on that soon, so stay tuned. Anyway, Hellsweeper looks amazing. I can't wait to play the demo. We might even cover the demo on Strangers in the Night next week. Who knows? So if you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and ring the bell so that you can be notified when we do so. Anyway, lots of big news coming out in regards to VR games this past week. The Future Game Showcase brought us some interesting news on titles that we were already hyped for. Oh, it's definitely a different trailer. So I meant to play the new trailer that Crossfire just put out this past week. An amazing new trailer dropped just a few days ago. This article,
I couldn't find So the problem is, and I don't know why Sony does this, but like they won't let you download their from their site or their YouTube. Like,
oh, okay.
And so every time if it's a Sony link, I have to try to find something that's, footage, and it becomes difficult to do sometimes. And that was one of the ones that I just couldn't find.
It all makes sense. I did not know that, Ruuts. I'm sorry.
No, that's all good.
I'll source it out better next time. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, just go search the PlayStation channel for the new Crossfire Sierra Squad trailer. They have like
is this it right here?
Yeah. Let me make it big so I can see it. I don't know, maybe.
Because that would be a workaround.
Yeah, make it big. Let's look at it.
Oh God, let me turn it down a little bit.
You know who else likes to make it big?
I do. She can't help it.
I can actually hear the sound on this. They can't. That's the first. So this isn't the same trailer?
Looks like the same
No,
trailer.
this is the one we just watched. Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay.
So they put
That's
out
cool.
a cool like mixed reality trailer where they show some gameplay and then kind of superimpose real people over it,
Ah.
and it's just really well done.
Virtual
Anyway,
Cat says cautiously optimistic for Crossfire. It looks good.
Yeah, it is pretty good. This article coming from Jordan Midler at Video Games Chronicle, which, by the way, this article coming from Video Games Chronicle because the VR media sucks and no one made a story on this week. So, shame on you. Anyway,
You did.
that's right.
Yeah.
PlayStation VR 2 first-person shooter Crossfire Sierra Squad has been given an August 2023 release window. Shown during Summer Games Fest kickoff show on Thursday, the game will be released on both Steam and PSVR 2 in August. In Crossfire Sierra Squad, you're the leader of an elite paramilitary fire team within the Global Risk Organization, facing an unexpected skirmish with the rival Blacklist organization. 39 types of weapons, including pistols, rifles, throwables, and a throwbackable grenade. Sniper rifles with revolutionary scope mechanics give you plenty of options to dispatch 17 types of enemies. You'll also engage with heavy artillery like helicopters and LAVs in full 360-degree VR space, so be sure to keep your head on a swivel. Eric, we had a chance to play a limited demo of Crossfire Sierra Squad on the floor at GDC, and I gotta say, man, it was a lot of fun even in that early state.
It was like it was quickly the best thing I'd seen at GDC. I was super excited about it. It's still one of my most anticipated PlayStation VR 2 games. This type of game, this fast action-paced shooting type game, just really resonates with me. It's my type of game. But the game plays like the demo that we did plays so smooth and looks so good. Like if they said here we're dropping it tomorrow, I would have believed them. That's how good it looked. I mean, I was like just so impressed with it coming away from that. Now it is super arcadey. I just want people to understand that this is an arcade shooter through and through. Now I think there is going to be a little bit more depth to it, but this is not going to be like a slow paced, this is a wave shooter, that it looks beautiful, that you're going to have a ton of fun playing, but this is not like, this isn't something it's not. This is an arcade shooter.
Yeah. High paced, action heavy arcade wave shooter. Well, I mean, it's not like a standard wave shooter. You are moving through environments, but it's very much you move into an arena, you clear it, you move to the next arena, you clear it, lather, rinse, and repeat. What's really great about it is there's so much variety. There's so many different levels, so many different weapons, so many different enemies. It all looks and feels good on the PSVR 2 and Ruuts. You can play with friends.
Oh, that's all that matters. So somebody was saying, I guess as Ryan Brand, it's like After the Fall then, I guess, but like a shooter, I guess. You're playing to 4 people or?
Yeah, on some base level, it's structured very similarly to like an After the Fall.
Oh, cool. I when it comes to shooters, flat or VR, I tend to want more arcadey, fast paced. One of my favorite types of games back in the day, and even now is the Call of Duty style, whether it be domination or whatever. I just like fast paced shooters.
And I mean that in kind of a gameplay sense or a level design sense in terms of the similarities to After the Fall. What it also has, though, the After the Fall doesn't have, Eric, is it has like a backstory that's pulling you through. You're not just running through these levels and trying to loot and level up endlessly with no real end game.
Yeah, I mean this game is all about the shooting and the bosses and the enemies and the different weapons that you get to pick up during the game, and this just makes me feel like I'm playing an arcade cabinet game. Like I don't know if you got that feeling too when we were doing the demo.
Absolutely.
But it gave me those like throwback feels of like playing like, I don't know, any type of game that you can think of in an arcade where you pick up an actual gun and it had like feedback in it. Like I cannot wait to use this. Like with the adapted triggers in it and the stuff that you were using, like the grenade launchers and stuff like that we had. It was so freaking cool, but it just gives you those vibes. I just felt like I was playing, Terminator in an arcade, or think of any other shooter. Not exactly Time Crisis because there's no cover mechanic like that, but yeah, it was just amazing, and I can't wait for this. It could be. I think it is my most anticipated game. Still, I'm ready to play it so bad.
And we're gonna get to play it with our PSVR 2 Mr. Task Quick Aim stock too, right?
Oh yeah, I got it right here, man. I freaking got it yesterday. Look at that. I am ready
Nice,
for
look at
this
that.
thing. Yeah, that's gonna be like. I'm ready.
Yeah,
He made
it's
that without
long
any
enough.
controllers, by the way. Did you know that?
Yeah,
He
I
doesn't
know,
own
right?
a PlayStation VR 2, so like he just resin printed, like somebody had like the details of the controller, so he downloaded the 3D files for the controller and just printed like resin duplicates of the PlayStation VR 2 controller, and that's how he made it, and it freaking fits on there perfect, man. I love it. Can't wait.
I love Resin Roots. It's the best.
Yeah, it's the best. for
Moon
sure.
Rocks.
Moon Rocks in Paradise. Oh, dude, that was the best song ever.
Oh, man.
All right, so Roots, we had an interesting sequence of events with regard to this game over the last week. So early in the week, it leaks on the PlayStation Store that this game is coming on June 28th in just a few weeks. I mean, it literally says that right on the store. News of that breaks everywhere, and then within 2 days, they put a new trailer out that mentions that it's not coming in June. It's actually coming in August. And here's the kicker, Roots. It's not going to be exclusive to PlayStation VR anymore either. It's coming to Steam. A little bit strange how that all went down, right?
Yeah, that is strange, but super cool for all the PC players, right? Because this is a game that I think everybody should be playing. Is this going to be crossplay? Do you know? Probably not, huh?
I don't know. That's a good question. I should put that forth to our friends at Smilegate and see what they say. Eric, do you think that they pulled an Ultimate Warrior here, where they were like trying to extort Sony for more money to be a timed exclusive, and then when Sony didn't pay up, they said, "Well, you know what? We're coming in August to both platforms."
Yeah, I mean, it could be, because remember we were asking about this. Like, this was one of the things they would not tell us, because we were asking several questions that day at the demo, and they were just like, they were tight-lipped. They weren't saying anything. They weren't saying no, but they were very like, tight-lipped about whatever they were doing. So,
yeah.
we were like, we really wanted to know. So I mean, it's very possible they could try to do like some type of power move, but I don't know.
They confirmed it. They confirmed it without confirming it, right? They were like, "Well, we can't talk. We'll talk about other platforms later or whatever."
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I'm glad. I mean, I don't want. I do actually. I should say that I do like exclusives. Sometimes exclusives can be fun, but I want everybody to be able to play this game. You know what I mean? And I don't know. To me, exclusives for big companies make sense, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're Sony Studios, right, and you're owned by Sony, you can do an exclusive because you can live with just selling it on one platform. But in a VR landscape where most of the developers are smaller, indie plus or indie developers, how do you afford to just stay on one platform? You almost can't. I mean, can you imagine the market that you leave on the table if you give up another headset? So, even though it's not Quest, I mean, there's a lot of Quest users. How many? What's the percentage of Quest users in Steam? It's like unheard of number. So there's a lot of Quest out there playing on Steam. So, and Smilegate's not a huge company, by the way. I mean, they're a big flat company, but they could very easily never make another VR game. So I want this game to do well.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with the sentiment. Like the way I look at it is, I see both sides. Like I like for, especially in these early days of VR, I like for everyone to be able to play no matter which platform. Not everyone can buy into multiple platforms, so it's nice when a good title comes out that, especially a multiplayer title. It's nice if people are able to play together on different platforms. With that said, if I were to give you my top 20 VR games of all time, half or more of them are going to be exclusives. And that, the advantages of exclusivity really manifest themselves in the case of something like a PSVR 2 where you've got all these unique features. It's nice that games are being built around that headset and around those features. So I see both sides. I'm happy that Crossfire Sierra Squad is coming to PC as well. But in terms of third-party exclusives, as we can see with our next topic, exclusivity is not such a bad thing.
The target is Colonel Peter Conrad. He was one of ours before he went rogue. We intercepted comms chatter referring to neurosynaptic tech, but they've gone dark. I don't have to remind you what's at stake here. We need that intel by any means necessary. He's connected to a mind synchronization device. This is cutting-edge interrogation tech. We're out of time and out of options. We've got to go in.
Yet another lamb to the slaughter. Well, come on then. Let's see what you're made of. Impressive. I'll admit, you made a good team on the battlefield. But don't forget, this is my mind, my war, my rules.
I need you to focus. The clock is ticking. You have to adapt.
Back again? Pathetic! Your heroics mean nothing!
You're getting close. You're approaching the center of his subconscious.
You think you're a threat to me? I'll never talk! They'll never break me!
PlayStation.
Why InDreams hopes Synapse will be a system seller for PSVR 2. This from GameDeveloper.com. Again, because VR media sucks. Despite the high price tag, lack of new games, lack of backward compatibility, and only being available to order direct from one store, Sony has proven naysayers wrong when the company recently announced that PSVR 2 had sold 600,000 units within 6 weeks of its launch in February 2023, surpassing sales of its predecessor by 8% in the same period. While the criticism of few first-party titles, save Horizon Call of the Mountain, remains a sticking point, exclusives are nonetheless coming from third-party developers, and Synapse may be just the shot in the arm it's looking for when the cyberpunk telekinetic shooter launches on July 4. Developed by InDreams, the studio's decade-long expertise in VR certainly puts a solid position to make the best VR2 experience that it can for Sony. With PS5 doing so well, Sony's first-party studios have got to support PS5 a lot as well, so there's only so much attention they can divert away from that, because that's still the biggest part of their business, says InDreams CEO Patrick. Oh, I don't want to try to pronounce that. Patrick.
Come on, dude.
Luana. Luana, hey? No, I don't.
Luana. Patrick Luana. But everyone we see has a ton of enthusiasm for PSVR 2, and I think it's growing even more as it comes out on sale through other stores. The UK-based developer and publisher is uniquely placed to understand the PlayStation brand, having already been a long-standing partner prior to the company's pivot to PR, when InDreams was the largest publisher on the short-lived but fondly remembered PlayStation Home, including successes like the alternate reality game G. What's more, head of InDreams studio James Shepard had himself previously worked at Sony since the PS1 era, with credits including Medieval 2 and entries in the Killzone series. It's like coming home to the family, says Shepard. It's every developer's dream to be in a launch window of a new piece of hardware with a new IP. It's always great to be there when these prototypes are being done and trying to make games that are really great expression of the hardware. Oh crap! It's asking me to join their
Don't do it.
subscription service.
I don't think you
All
should do
right.
it.
So I got to scroll back down.
Join it. Come on.
find
What
my
could go
place again
wrong?
now.
Yeah, what could go wrong? Yeah.
Okay. Although InDreams made the action game Fracked, why is this thing jumping around? Although InDreams made the action game Fracked for the first PSVR, that game debuted in the headset's twilight days. Rather than porting that to VR2 like other developers have been doing with their first gen VR titles, the studio opted to start afresh with a game that fully takes advantage of the new hardware's unique features. Man, this article keeps jumping around on me here. Shepard describes the process as not just making a new VR game, but one that fits the brief of making a real showcase for VR2. This is a system seller. A bit like Wipeout did so many times on the original PlayStation. You're trying to be the experiential, living embodiment of the hardware. Like I've bought a PlayStation, you come around to my house and I want to show you how brilliant it is. So I want an experience that showcases all of that. Then you're going to be looking to showcase not just the hardware features, but almost the brand experience. Synapse certainly embodies the PlayStation brand to some extent. From a story that features the voice talents of David Hayter and Jennifer Hale, who last worked together in PS1 classic Metal Gear Solid, to the way its monochromatic aesthetic created by an art director, Alina Fedeshinka, Alina Fedeshinka mirrors the black and white minimalism of the PS5 console with splashes of color used to signal important information in a fast-paced game. The art style came out of showcasing PlayStation, its beauty, its brand, and showcasing the gameplay, Shepard says. As a pure VR game developer who's had its hands on every headset that's come to market since, InDreams is no stranger to working with each platform's limitations, but it's also been privy to getting an early look at the hardware to understand how best to leverage its features. That was the most fun bit for us, looking at all the stuff we couldn't do on the other headsets, like the eye tracking, the headset rumble, and the amazing feedback and haptics in the controllers. Making an exclusive game is that you can make it the best it possibly can be, and not thinking about making it work on every single headset, so we've been able to do a really good job. Although telekinesis was a core mechanic early on from the vertical slice onwards, it's elevated with eye tracking, so that the player needs to only look at an object, then squeeze the trigger to pick it up, and then use the Sense controller's motion to move it around or smash it into enemies in the environment. We already had prototypes where you could do telekinesis without the eye tracking, but once we put it in, everyone loved it and it just seemed like magic. Besides the tactile and intuitive one-to-one use of telekinesis, the game also builds on elements from past InDreams titles. It originally began as a spiritual successor to Fracked, so it reuses a cover mechanic where grabbing onto any part of an obstacle in front of the player becomes cover that they can lean in and out of. Dual-wielding shooting and telekinesis isn't too dissimilar to the studio's multitasking shooter, Shooty Fruity. So the article goes on to talk a little bit about the style of the game and the art direction, and I don't think we need to go on and read about that. Everyone can see that this game is beautiful, it's surreal, and Eric, I can tell you firsthand that once you get in the headset, it all starts to come together. It all starts to make sense. This game is, it's beautiful. It uses the PSVR 2 to its fullest potential, not only with the features, but the OLED panel as well.
Yeah, I think, the title says it all. System seller for the PlayStation VR 2. It seems like this is built for this system, and it's going to take advantage of everything it has to offer. And I'm just jealous that you played it. No.
Coming soon, Eric. Coming soon. We got you.
Michelle
covered,
B
buddy.
says, I love the cover mechanics in Fracked, and that was one of the best parts. And it's like they listened, which I know they did, to the community. Like everything that we complained about Fracked, it's not long enough, doesn't have a story, and like they're adding everything, and they're making it cooler to boot with the telekinesis, and that's just cool.
So get this, Roots. And I've already kind of described this to you as like, in terms of gameplay, like Fracked, but with telekinesis. And the telekinesis is a huge part of the gameplay. And it's going to vary from person to person how they play it. That's one of the beautiful things about this game is so many different people are going to be able to play it so many different ways. But one of the cool features that is in this game that wasn't in Fracked, and something I think you're going to particularly enjoy, Roots, is they've got the cover base mechanic, right, where you're grabbing things and you can kind of duck behind it. But these levels are very vertical. Like there are many levels to each of the areas that you run in, and it's all kind of made out of these rock formations because you're in this dude's mind, literally, and everything kind of has this surreal, almost supernatural feel to it. Even the formations of the rocks, but you can use that grip mechanic that's meant for cover to climb everything. So all the mountains, all the walls, everything in this game, you can grab it one-handed and climb up it like in Population 1. But it's way so much bigger than that. I think you're going to dig it.
That's awesome. Can you storm land it and fling yourself up?
Ooh,
That would be cool, right?
You can't glide, but you can jump like that, like down like hundreds of feet, and it doesn't hurt you.
Well, that was one of the things that I thought you were going to say, Wes. I thought you were leading to say that there was a jump button. I'm assuming there's no jump button.
I don't think so. No, I don't. Well, no, there's no jump. The way that you move yourself across gaps and things here is you use your telekinesis to kind of move platforms to you.
Okay.
You stand on the platform and then use the telekinesis to move yourself across.
Oh, you don't need a jump button then. It's kind of like with Pop 1 when people would complain and say, there's no jump button. I'm like, dude, but you can fucking fly. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, at some point, just take the mechanics for what they are and enjoy it. So, yeah, I'm with Eric. I'm a little jealous, but I completely understand when Sony curates 13 people in the world to play it and you're on that list, that says something about you, bro. I think that's cool.
Yeah, super appreciative. And it did bum me out a little bit that I couldn't share it with you guys, but I get it. I get where In Dreams is coming from on this. Sony's very particular and picky, so thank you.
Garbage. I'm not playing it. It's garbage.
It's all cool that you got to play it anyway, and you may not got to share it for us to play it, but you got to share it with the communities on how awesome it is, and that means more, right? So
yeah, and for those of you who didn't catch it, I did do Roots. I think it was my first like pre-recorded edited video in years. We did last week, showing off 12 minutes of gameplay from Synapse, and it was a lot of fun. I wish I could have shown a lot more, but again, we had a very tight window of criteria that we had to stay within. And this game's coming up soon. Eric, that's the cool thing about it, is this game is coming way sooner than we thought it was coming. Only a few weeks now before this one drops.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, everybody knows me. This is my kind of game, man. This game is made for me. This is what gets me excited. Like, this game is going to be fantastic. I can't wait to play this game. It could be like I'm anticipating this being one of my favorite games of this year. So I really have high hopes for this game. I love In Dreams. I loved Fracked. I do think this is going to have a lot. This is going to be like Fracked on drugs. I'm going to see Fracked on cocaine. Let's go.
yeah, me too.
Show says Roots changed the resolution to 1080p. Are we not at full HD?
Should be. There is no 1080p as far as, unless maybe the article, but I mean, it's all bitrate, right?
Oh, I got you. Oh, okay. I see what he's saying. The article's too small. I got you. Okay. I thought he was talking about the stream in general. So we're good. No, this is,
I see what
let's see. Someone in the chat, who was it, said, Shapeshifter, the amorphous Gamecast says, yeah, it was unclear sometimes if you had to stay in cover or just run like hell. Like, it's literally up to you how you want to play. If you want to play more shooting heavy and gung-ho, you can. If you want to hang back and use your telekinesis to destroy the guys, you can do it that way. But it's interesting how they've set this up, is that like you can kind of hide and fight from a distance, but when you kill the enemies, they drop things. Like they'll drop something called Defiance, which is what that is it's currency for you to buy upgrades during your run. Like through each run, you'll come into stations where you can buy weapons, or you can buy upgrades and abilities. You have to have currency for that. You get that by killing enemies, and they drop it. They also drop ammunition, which you run out of quite frequently. So when I would try to hang back, I found myself often being put in these situations where there's a group of enemies in front of me, like 5 or 10 guys in an area, and then I kill the first 2 or 3, and now my ammo's on the ground, or my Defiance is on the ground over there, and it only stays for a few seconds. It won't stay there till you pick it up. It's timed. So you have this kind of, do I hang back and be defensive, or do I run out into the crowd to pick this stuff up? And more times than not, these encounters start from a distance, start from a stealth perspective, but very quickly you find yourself in the middle of a very chaotic firefight. And one of the cool things about it, Ruuts, you're in this guy's mindscape, right? And he's mentally putting these enemies in there, and they almost seem like religious fanatics, the things that they're saying. You can hear them talking, and the spatial audio is excellent. But they'll be calling you things like the non-believer. We need to purge the unclean, things like that. And while this, in terms of gameplay, it's fairly repetitive. It's an action arcadey style game. But one thing that these type of games typically lack is a compelling story. And I can tell you that the story that this game is playing into is super cool and original.
Yeah, it definitely seems super cool, and I can't wait to overhear conversations I'm not supposed to hear. I like that, and when video games, when they put that kind of thought into like just little conversations, and actually sometimes can fill in some of the gaps in the story, right? So I think it sounds cool.
But you don't hear a lot of that stuff from the enemies themselves. They do repeat themselves quite a lot. They're typically telling each other to watch the non-believer. Keep your eyes on the portal. So the way that the levels work is you're trying to escape through a portal. The portal doesn't open until you kill all the enemies. So they'll and the enemy AI, Eric, is excellent, by the way. They're constantly strafing and moving, communicating what they're going to do. And again, the spatial audio is great. What kind of sets this apart from a lot of these action shooters that we have in VR, though, other than the story and the beautiful art style, is that there is a pretty deep, not super deep, but a pretty deep roguelike progression system here. So the runs are super fast paced. The levels are set. They're not procedural. They're built and designed by experts. But the cool thing about it is when you finally do fall in battle, you get to level up in between runs. And I know that this is something especially recently in recent years that you've become particularly fond of, right?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite gameplays, types of games to play, and they've really kind of gotten, most of them have really kind of gotten the how it works down to where it makes it good. Like there have been, like early on, there was a lot of roguelites that just didn't work because they either made them too difficult, or they didn't make them deep enough, or the hook wasn't there. And I think a lot of these titles, especially in virtual reality, they finally have them down where we're seeing more and more. Like it used to be almost saying the word roguelite made it like a bad game. It was taboo. It was like Wave Shooter or walking sim. Like nobody wanted to play them. But now literally they've gotten the gameplay loop down so good that it just, most of them drag you back in. Like I was playing Mother Gunship Forge again last night, which it still freaking crashes on me every time I try and stream it. But that's just those types of games like that bring you in, that let you progress, or let you move through a story, but give you something, give you a goal. Like I don't mind dying. Like I kind of like that if I can in between rounds do something to make my character better. You know what I mean? So I love those types of things, like the persistence and games like that. It's just a really good way to, I think, to make a game if you can make them correct. And I think End Dreams will do that.
So the way the progression works in this game is they have like a tree of achievements you can get. Like you'll have a tree for killing enemies with weapons. You'll have a branch for killing enemies with telekinesis. And you'll have achievements like smash 10 guys with boxes, or you know, throw 10 enemies with your telekinesis abilities. As you achieve each one of these, you get skill points, and then you take those skill points over to another tree, which breaks down your attributes like weapons, health. There was another one that is based on like tactical abilities and things like that. And I mean, it's not the level of depth of progression that you'll see in a $60 flat game, but it's leagues ahead of what you see from most VR games, and I think it's a pretty big step in the right direction for VR. In terms of the PSVR 2 functionality, Ruuts, you can tell that this is a game that is built around PSVR 2. I don't think I've played another game that incorporates PSVR 2's unique feature set as well as this game does. Like, for example, well, I mean, the haptics are off the chart. Now, the headset haptics aren't super, like, intense. They're more subtle and context driven. So, like, if you get blown up, you'll feel them, things like that. But the controller haptics are awesome, and the way they use adaptive triggers is great. So the telekinesis works through the eye tracking. You basically, when you see something that you can grab in the world, it'll light up colorful, like you're in a black and white world. So you can tell what you're looking at by whether or not there's color glowing from it. And then you can grab it with your left trigger, but they fully utilize the adaptive triggers even. For example, like if you grab an explosive barrel, if you just pull the trigger, it's going to explode. But if you look at it and do a half pull, you can pick the barrel up, and then you can float it next to an enemy or do whatever you want to it, and then finish pulling the trigger to blow it up. It's these types of things that kind of set this apart from, you know, a typical cross-platform shooter. That they really, it feels almost like not in terms of scope, but in terms of utilization of the features, it feels like it was almost done by a first party.
Well, telekinesis is kind of weird in VR to begin with, hard to get right? Like to just nail it. And the fact that they're utilizing the eye tracking, which it seems like a lot of developers use it, but they don't use it in like such a cool way, in such a way that is fluent. It's going to make this gameplay flow, right? And I'm imagining it feels badass. You know what I mean? And that's what you want, is like every aspect of the game needs to feel badass. And I feel like the adaptive triggers is the other end of that. Like we want, like some of the games we've played have had amazing haptics, and haptics are amazing. They really do add to immersion, but there's nothing like these adaptive triggers. Like even in Returnal, it changed the game for me. And so I'm glad that, I mean, it doesn't surprise me just from this article, the CEO and what he's talking about. Like it was on their mind. They literally took advantage of the fact that they're making it for one headset, and they've done so many. How many games do you think these developers, they're like, oh man, we're doing it for all three? It changes everything. Like you kind of have to pull back and say, we've got the low end of the Quest 2, we have to make it for that as well, and we got all these different things. They could focus on everything, and after this segment, I'm so much more psyched than I was even before to get in there next week. And see, that's the good news, Eric. We get to play it in a week, bro.
I know, finally.
So finally.
Virtual Slayer Cat with the $50 Canadian donation.
Wow.
Says, I'm going into lurker mode. This is for the Apple Vision giveaway. All
There
right,
you go.
so there we have it.
I'll
We
tell
only
you what,
need
70 more.
70 some more donations, and we'll be there.
Yeah, actually,
Sweet. We'll start.
probably 100 because YouTube's
Right.
gonna get their cut.
That's
right.
right.
So,
That's right. That's a good call.
Yeah.
Thank you, Virtual Slayer Cat. That is amazing. We very much appreciate you
absolutely.
giving us much awesome support. Thank you. Eric, a lot of good things to say about this game, but at the end of the day, I only played 2 levels, so there's a lot of questions remaining. You know, the gameplay loop is a bit repetitive. So we're counting on a couple of things. We're counting on the progression system to provide some variability as you go through the runs. And I'm counting personally on the context of the story to add some variety here. And what I mean by that is the concept here is that you're forcibly working your way through this psychopath's mind to get to him. You're starting out on the conscious level. After you go through 4 levels, then you move on to the unconscious level. And there's 4 of those, and then that takes you into the subconscious, which is the goal.
Wow.
I would hope and expect that as we dive deeper into this psychopath's mind, that the surrealistic nature of the game becomes more intense, right? You would think that not only are the enemies going to start to change up a bit as you get through the game, their behavior become more aggressive. There'll be a lot more of them. But I would expect that as you get closer and closer to the subconscious and this guy's fighting to resist you, like I would expect like the fabric of the levels themselves to start to come undone and this thing to really get crazy at the end. Again, I don't know if this is the case, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed, right?
Yeah, I mean the whole idea, the story behind this, and the you know the way it works with being in dreams and in dreams, that makes sense.
Right.
But yeah, I mean I just love this whole idea. I mean, we've seen these types of stories before, and they're extremely intriguing. And just you telling me just a little bit there, it just sounds like there's going to be so much more to this game. Like I think people were worried that we were going to get fracked depth or fracked length in this game, and I don't think it doesn't sound like that's anywhere near what we're going to get. We're going to get a full-blown story here or something behind it, with all the different layers that you just talked about.
It feels kind of like Killing Floor Incursion in that aspect. Everything
yeah.
in Killing Floor Incursion is actually taking place in your mind, in your subconscious. So as you go along, things start to get crazier and crazier. It kind of feels like that. But it's interesting, Eric, that you bring up the length, because this has kind of been the most common criticism of In Dreams titles. When Phantom Covert Ops came out, it got a lot of criticism because it's only 4 hours to make it through the campaign. And then Fract came out, Ruuts, and it was even shorter than that. It was like 3 hours with no like replayable game modes or anything. So obviously they were ready to field questions about this when we first started a dialogue with them. They have put this game through extensive playtesting. And in terms of like start to finish, like amount of game that's here, it's very similar to the same length as Fract, but the progression is what makes it different. You're doing multiple runs just to kind of make it further each time. And Ruuts, what they told me is through their play testing, it took around 8 hours on average for someone to finish the first run, and then around 12 hours on average for someone to like complete all of the tasks and challenges and everything. So that's a pretty big step up, I feel like, from either of their previous 2 titles.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to remember your like literal previous experience with Undead Citadel. You had 2 levels and you felt like it was the same, very samey, and that third level was where everything started to change. So I would imagine that it's going to change up, and it might just change up a lot of it with what you said. As you're changing things up in your build, things and the gameplay changes, and so like you can maybe have a different types of ways you can play. So
yeah, I need to get back in the Undead Citadel. Like I played it for a couple of hours on our stream the other night. And it was getting late because we had so much jank to deal with when we started streaming. But the last level, like the level that I went into when I was ending the stream, was like a cemetery level, and it looks so cool. I need to get back in there.
Was it getting harder?
Yeah. The enemies are more armored up. There's a wider variety of enemies as you go on. You have to find creative ways to dispatch of them. It's really cool. Guido in the chat says, "Hey strangers, hey lovely chat fam, listening in on my way to work." Well, be careful. Watch the road, Guido. It's raining out there. You can see it behind Ruuts. It's everywhere. Um,
I was watching Ryan Hall, y'all, and you got some crazy weather coming your way, Wes. All this, when this finally breaks, it's stuff that's been sitting over us. Specifically, Kentucky looked like it was going to get some tornado action. So, but hopefully not.
Yeah. So I didn't hear any of that. My audio cut out.
Me too.
But yeah, I felt what you were saying. And it felt
Was
right.
it not? So neither one of you heard it, huh?
No.
No.
it kinda
I was
cut
just
out.
basically saying that there's bad weather coming towards Kentucky from Ryan Hall, y'all's channel on YouTube. Says that once the weather here breaks, whatever's keeping it in the middle, it's going to have really crazy tornadoes, and it looked like Kentucky was highlighted in that swath of stuff. So keep your head on a swivel.
Well, the good news is that we're halfway through the show, Ruuts. So, so far so good. Corey Massey in the chat says Undead Citadel is a game that I am looking forward to on PSVR 2. Yeah, Undead Citadel is good. It's not going to be a game of the year contender or anything. It's pretty straightforward in what it is. It's a linear hack and slash first person VR game, but it's cool. It's a beautiful game. The combat and the physics are solid, and there's a lot of variety with like weapons and enemies and stuff. So it's pretty good, man. I'm enjoying my time in it so far. Anyway, that's going to wrap up our headlines. This week I was going to do more. Like I had one originally for Madison VR, which also dropped a new trailer this week, which also had 0 articles in the VR media for some reason. But those of you who are patrons can find that article and much more in the week's show notes on the cutting room floor. It was a big week for VR. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. So if you're on the payroll, check it out, man. Get in there and check it out. With that said, I did cut the headline section down because Ruuts, somehow we forgot to do Game of the Month for May. How did that happen?
Yeah, it just keeps happening, man. I mean, we're actually right about smack in the middle of the month. It's perfect time to do it.
Honestly, I remembered it last week. You know, I was away. The reason why we didn't do it right on time is because we didn't do a show that week. I was in California. I remembered it for this past Friday, but we were in a situation where we had all these review keys and games that we needed to play. I felt like we owed it to the developers that have been supporting us to give them the coverage that we owe them. So we're doing Game of the Month today on the 11th of June. We're going to talk about May's Game of the Month. And Eric, I don't know if you were paying attention, man, but a lot of VR games came out in May.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of these, it's like every time I think, I'm like, wow, not much came out, and then we look at this list, and I'm like, holy crap, all these games came out.
Yeah,
I guess this goes to like happens when you're busy on certain things. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It seems like this year, like a couple of times I've gone back and forth and been like, wow, this year's been kind of dry. But then you look at some of the games that we've had, and I'm like, well, maybe it's not. So I don't know. It's been a weird year so far. Like we really have had some big titles and some big months and there's been a lot of games out there, but it has that perception to me of like being a soft year so far.
February and March were just incredible, just jam packed. April was kind of dead, and then May it bounced back in a pretty big way. When I was curating the list of each platform, the smallest amount of releases, notable releases, was on Quest 2, which had 7. PSVR
Crazy.
2 had 8, and PCVR had 9, which is just nuts that PC led the way in such a busy month. But obviously, we're not going to be able to talk about every game that made the list, so I did kind of narrow it down a little bit to games I felt like deserved to be in the conversation. So let's start with PSVR 2, games that we won't be talking at length about. Knock, which I'm sure a lot of people would probably nominate as one of the games of the month because people in PSVR, people in general love Knock, guys. Do you think that Knock is maybe just a really good game and we just didn't like it because we suck?
No, it sucks.
I wonder how much people say they like it. How many people are playing it? I'd love to see the numbers. That's my thing.
Yeah,
You know.
that's a good question. Hello Neighbor, Search and Rescue, another one we're not going to be talking about. We chose not to play this one right away because of the general reception to it. Most people say that it's buggy and broken and not ready for launch. Although if it weren't for all the jank, it might be a pretty good game. So we're just going to kind of gloss over that one. Organ Quarter also came out on PSVR 2, which for what it's worth, since it got patched, most people are digging Organ Quarter actually. But in context of what else came out in May, I didn't really feel like it was a Game of the Month contender, so we're going to talk about Organ Quarter at a later date. Let's talk about the games we are here to talk about. Namely, we got the month kicked off with another Fisherman's Tale, the sequel to the classic puzzler, VR multi-platform VR puzzler that came out a couple years ago. Ruuts, the first title was kind of notorious for being super short. Not a problem with this one.
No, not a problem with this one, and it was definitely not the same game. That was the biggest thing that I was worried about. It was definitely unique and super cool game.
Eric, a lot of variety here in terms of how the puzzles work, how each level is different from the last, and even with the kind of twist of the story. This game doesn't ever really let you get comfortable, does it?
Yeah, this is a great game. I absolutely love this game, and this game kind of surprised me because this is not 100% my type of game, but I had a lot of fun in here, and I have not gone back and finished it yet, but I'm pretty close because I actually played through quite a bit of the game. That's how much I liked it. I played through quite a bit of the game just reviewing it for when we were talking about it. So, yeah, it was one of my like surprise games that I didn't think I was gonna like as much as I did.
Roots, do you know who else hates it when you get close to finishing and then stop?
My mom!
She not only hates it, she'll beat the crap out of you. You do that
Oh,
to
yeah,
her.
She
won't
stand
put
for
up
that.
with it. She won't.
Now, this game turned out to be a lot better than I expected it to be. Even like I thought it would be pretty solid, but this is a very unique game and takes full advantage of what VR does well. It's super immersive, has clever puzzles, a great story, a big time pickup for Vertigo Games as the publisher. So well done on this one, and beautiful in the PSVR 2 headset to boot. Moving on, Humanity came out this past month. This is a game that was revealed years ago, and I mean it's been so long now that we were starting to question whether or not we would ever see this game, and it finally did release on the PSVR 2 this past month. Ruuts, a fairly straightforward Lemmings puzzler, but received super high reviews as most people played this on flat and not VR. But a ton of levels, a lot of clever puzzling mechanics in this game, and a solid title overall.
Yeah, Lemmings is cool. You know, if it's done right, and this is unique. And I personally think humans are better than lemmings. We kick their ass, and so yeah, it's cool, just like Humanity. Super cool.
Eric, very very Japanese this game. I don't know if you can tell from this trailer, but you're a dog, and there's weird sound effects and a lot of weird people and a lot of weird stuff going on in this game. It's very Japanese.
Yeah, this is. Yeah.
It looks like the Doge dog, kind of.
Yeah. It's Peanut. It's Brad's Peanut.
Yep.
This is not for me. I am not a Lemmings fan.
Oh, did you try it?
I did.
Oh.
I did because I just wanted to check it out because I don't know. There's none of these, but I should have known going in. Like none of these games are for me. Like they've tried to do a couple Lemmings games in VR and. Like what was there was like Patch World or I don't know Pathcraft or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all terrible
game.
to me. They're all I don't know. They don't interest me at all. I'm sure there's a lot of people that like them and if for those people I'm sure this is probably good. It's just I don't want nothing to do with these.
Yeah,
games.
I put it on the list mainly because of the
Response.
overwhelming positive response to it. With that said, I liked it. It was fine. I have not gone back into it since my initial playthrough. I did a couple hours in it, and it was fine. I didn't really see what VR added to this game very much. This was very much a flat game that you're just kind of in, and that was cool, right? It was a cool novelty, but in terms of like the gameplay, it's identical, plays identical to a flat game. It almost felt like something that was made in dreams. Basically, it felt like a puzzle game that was made in dreams, which
It
is
was.
fine. But coming from a big budget, well, I mean, I guess I couldn't say that. A bigger publisher, we could say,
Mm.
that has experience in bringing their games into VR. I expected a little bit more in terms of the VR functionality, and it just wasn't there. But you know what's awesome in VR, Eric, and what is especially awesome on PlayStation VR 2 is Crosmodread. Crosmodread from White Door Games finally dropped on the PSVR 2 this past month. And man, I forgot how much I like this game. And it's only $15.
I actually haven't played this on the PlayStation VR 2 yet. Have you guys?
Yeah. And it's
I did not play it.
In terms of its differences from the other platforms, it's pretty minimal, actually. This is the same game pretty much. But when you're in such dark environments, that OLED panel absolutely makes a difference.
Hell yeah. Any haptics that are different here or nothing? Are they taking advantage of anything with the adaptive triggers or?
It's yeah, that stuff's in there, but it's minimal. Like it doesn't add a ton to the game. This was just a good game to begin with, and it's a little bit better on PSVR 2.
So such a good price, $15. There's so much game here,
great.
dude. You know?
Yeah.
This is a great
game's
example
fantastic.
of those roguelike elements that we were talking about earlier. This is a game where dying's just part of the experience, right? You have to die to unlock weapons, to unlock different things.
This game's got the whole package, man. The visuals were really good. The sounds of going through these environments was so creepy and so good. It did have the roguelike elements to it, so where like you had to like find these like blueprints to make things, and depending on what you found or weapon, I mean, like ammo, like you would get ammo was such a hard thing to find, or oxygen. Like they give you so limited stuff, it was tough to get through. But when you did find something that was like, when you did find something that was you felt it. Like when you got to that point where you felt you got something you really needed, you were like, yes, this is gonna get me through at least a little bit. A part of this game, and I don't know, man. And then the scares and the jump stuff. I mean, the sounds and the audio and it being so dark, and you can hear stuff hunting you in the game and following you, and you have no ammo, and you're just trying to run away. It's awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of the big thing that turned my experience around. Was my initial runs, I was constantly running out of ammo, but by the third run, I found a weapon that you didn't need to pick up ammo for. You can recharge it by hand, and I came so close to finishing that run. Like literally, all I had left to do was find the ship and leave, and I had the key card. And then all of a sudden, I ran into new enemy types that I hadn't seen before, and it was over with pretty quickly after that.
But somebody just said GT beat it on PlayStation VR 2 just recently, right?
Yeah, that's right. He played through it the other day with his B haptics vest on, by the way.
Yeah, that's cool too.
Anyway, a solid contender for PSVR 2 Game of the Month. I wonder if there's anything that might have come along to knock it out of the top spot. Oh, wait a minute. Walkabout Mini Golf came out this month on PSVR 2. Ruuts, the popularity of this game is undeniable. People love Walkabout.
Yeah. Well, they should, because it does everything that it should do right, except for the upside down world.
Nice.
Like the thing is it's miniature golf, and one of the coolest things about miniature golf is really elaborate, cool courses. And this, I mean, they just keep releasing you know, DLC after DLC. There's so many courses now. I mean, even just with the original package, it's worth the price of admission. And you know, the DLCs are not that expensive, and you can play for free with your friends if they own it. I mean, it's a win-win-win. So
This game gets DLC more than Beat Saber, Eric. What the hell?
It's insane how much they put into this game. Like, I don't know. It's almost like Demio or like Resolution with Demio. They just kind of keep giving and
Pistol Whip.
more and more stuff. And I mean, they do charge for these things, but man, it's so cheap and it's just easy to grab a new course for $3 or whatever it is. And
Right.
I mean, this is a game.
And if you buy one of those DLCs, all of your friends can play it. Everyone doesn't have to buy it.
right.
Yep. And I think this is one of those games that just got caught in between. Like, this was one of those games I know they probably were like, let's put it on PSVR 1, but they're just like, we just can't. You know, you got to that point where like we just can't give it any more love, and we just have to wait and put it on the PSVR 2.
Well,
So,
why do it
long
anyway?
time coming.
Why go through all that shit with a completely different control scheme as the console's dying when you know the new one's coming, right? Like, I think it was smart.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think you got to make those decisions at some point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you nailed it, Roots. What a value. Crossplay enabled on day one. You can play with people on Steam. You can play with people on Quest. Again, only one person has to own any of the DLCs for everyone to play. And for $35 when it launched, coming with all of the DLC, I mean, that's a pretty amazing deal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, even if, you know, it's not just the courses, because they give you other reasons to want to play the courses, to own them, right? And if you don't believe me, then just watch Brian Paul play, because he's got some of the coolest golf clubs I've ever seen. I don't have any, and you don't get the golf clubs unless you own the courses, right? Because you got to go on the scavenger hunt. You got to
find the balls.
You got to find the balls. They give you so much more on top of everything else that they already gave you. Like, you want to own the DLC. You know what I mean? So it's
who's always looking for balls, Roots?
My mom!
Oh yeah, she is. She usually finds them pretty easy.
I was going to say Guido, but yeah.
That's fine.
Anyway, it's a shoe-in, right? I mean, could there possibly be anything that would potentially upend Walkabout Mini Golf as the PSVR 2 game of the month? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe Red Matter 2 on PSVR 2?
Discussion over. Oh yeah, let's move on to the next one.
Eric, this game came out on Quest, and we said, holy crap, how does a Quest game look this good? And then it came out on PCVR, and we said, holy crap, how does a PC game look this good? And then it came out on PSVR 2. Holy crap, Eric, how does a fucking console VR game look like this?
This game was like almost like it was just built from the ground up for this console, because it's that good. Like, I mean, it's great. Like you said, it's great on everything you played it on, but it just took that next step when you played it on, you know, the PlayStation VR 2, and it's, you know, I don't know, it just goes to show you that if a developer puts the time in, and you know, they can make great games for any console, you know, and make it right. So they've just done it like they did, and they did it with the first one too, by the way. I mean, they made a great Quest version, they made a great Steam version, so they did it with the first one too. So I'm just super happy that we have this game, and again, this is hands down the winner. I don't think there's any even consideration about this, but there's some other good games in here that probably would have won if they didn't, if it wasn't for this title. But man, this is such a good game.
You know, when we talk about Red Matter 1 and Red Matter 2 on Quest, we're largely marveling at the production values. It's coming out of a small team that you can count on one hand the number of members on their team. But Roots, this game is a lot more than that. I mean, this game is a big expansion in terms of gameplay over the original. Like, there's platforming, there's shooting. The puzzles even are a bit different than they were in the first game. This was an excellent game. It won our Quest 2 Game of the Year last year. But this PSVR 2 version takes everything that was great about it and then adds in all of those PSVR specific features on top of that. and also the best looking version of one of the most beautiful games we've ever seen. Like this game is exceptional, and is on the short list for like best PlayStation VR 2 games that you can buy.
Yeah, it's definitely amazing. You know, and I'm a little bit somewhat torn just because Walkabout Mini. It's funny you got that in a thing because that's so especially for the community for PlayStation VR 2. If it was any other community, I'd say it'd be hands down. But man, they really embrace this game, right? And it may be that the community votes for Walkabout Mini Golf over Red Matter 2, and that's crazy. But I can see it. I can see it at the same time.
That's true. And to be
that it's even this close.
And to be clear, I just put a poll out there because I'm curious. The way we pick our game of the month is it's not a democracy. We pick if there's some like if it's a close discussion and we don't know which way to go, then we fall back on what the community thinks and let the community be the tiebreaker. But I tend to be in Eric's boat here. Like these are both great games. They're both must own. Only one of these titles is a contender for Game of the Year on PSVR 2, in my opinion. And that game is Red Matter 2.
And that's what the whole game of the month is about anyway. So, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Michelle B says, love Red Matter, but it's one and done. But that's not, so you can't do that. Like, you can't just take a game because it's great for one playthrough and just say, because I can play a game multiple times over and over and over again, I'm going to get DLC. But that's a better game. Like the experience that you have for that one game can be like so amazing and so game changing for that system that it stands out above the rest. Like, and that's where it is with Red Matter. You go through the entire experience of Red Matter and Red Matter 2, and see where you are at the end of that. And it's profound. Walkabout Mini Golf 2 is a great game. It's a great game to go in and have fun with friends in, but it is not on the level of Red Matter 2. I'm sorry.
It depends on what you're looking for, though. If you're a social person and you're all about the social experience and you're all about hanging out with your friends and that, like, there's people that play it every single day. I could see them saying, look, I understand it's a great story. It looks phenomenal. It's got features, but like Walkabout Mini Golf is something special to those people. So I can see the other side of it. Not that I agree with it, but I can see it.
So in terms of replayability, I never finish games. You guys know that. Like we're too busy. We have too much on our plate to be playing through games. With that said, I have completed Red Matter 2 twice now. Like I've played through it twice, and I loved it more the second time than I did the first time. So, like, yeah, it's an amazing game. It tells a great story. The gameplay's fun, and it only continues to get better the deeper into the game that you play. So, I guess, Ruuts, the question is here. There's no question that Red Matter 2 is the game of the month. The question is do we, like, give Walkabout Mini Golf, like, a runner-up / honorable mention, which would then place it into the discussion for Game of the Year.
I
like
guess
on one hand,
if you want to keep it, I mean, because there's other awards besides the actual Game of the Year, right? So like it could be best multiplayer, but I guess would it still be up for those type of categories anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Because, sure. Right.
If it's already up for those categories already, I say no. Because there's no way it's going to beat Switchback. There's no way it's going to beat Resident Evil 8. There's no way it's going to beat Red Matter 2. There's just too many amazing titles. It's not that it's not amazing game. It's just when you're putting them up against all those others, what's the point? You know.
So here's the thing. The way that we have typically dealt with these situations in the past is when we have a game like this that's a game that's been around and it's coming to a new platform, it is eligible to receive awards in that platform, but like overall awards. Like we wouldn't give this the best multiplayer game of 2023 because it didn't come out in 2023. It came out on PlayStation in 2023. So it's a weird position here because I don't feel like this is a contender for PSVR 2 Game of the Year. It's just not, too many other good games. And it wouldn't be a contender for multiplayer game of the year because it's been out for years at this point. Now it will be eligible for like best ongoing support. These type of like the No Man's Sky award. It would definitely be in for stuff like that because it's had regular DLC come out for it. Even as recently as this past week, we got new DLC for this game. But where I kind of stand at it is even though it's very popular, I think that if we were to call this a runner up, it would just be a token gesture on our point and really wouldn't be done in the spirit of why we're doing this, which is to narrow down the games of the year.
Right.
So I kind of vote for no. I think
Yeah.
Red Matter 2 is it.
It just can't. There's no way it's going to compete with some of the other games. I love this game. I play it every time there's a new course. We seem like we get in there and we have a ball, and we want to play it, and everybody wants to play it, and it is a good social game. It's just not game of the year. Like, it's just not. There's too many other games out there that are up against it. You know, I would even. I'm almost to the point where I would have. Man, I think I would have put Crosmodread ahead of this before as number 2. I mean, again, I love Walkabout Mini Golf, but I don't. It's just not on my radar as a game I would say is game of the year.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I agree.
If somebody else was saying Lone Echo is better than this game, and I'm not going to disagree. I love Lone Echo. I think it's one of the best games in the world. And if they brought it to PlayStation, that could win Game of the Year. But then it'll never happen.
Yeah, Lone Echo 2 is fucking awesome. Anyways, yeah, I think Red Matter 2 is our winner here. And for what it's worth, 56% of those who took place in the poll agree with us. Red Matter 2, PSVR 2 Game of the Month. Walkabout Mini Golf will definitely be nominated for Best Ongoing Support. And maybe even some of the individual DLCs will be nominated for Best DLC. But not a Game of the Month, not a Game of the Year contender, in my opinion.
It is telling though that it's close. Like, I really wasn't even thinking about it. There was anything close, and it's 56% to 43%. Yeah. That's telling.
People love this game, dude.
They
do. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me make note of the winner, and we'll be on to our next category. If I can get the damn thing to work. Come on now. All right, there we go. Red Matter 2, PSVR 2 Game of the Month. Congratulations to Vertical Robot for being fucking awesome. Because they're fucking awesome. All right, moving along to Quest 2. Again, just as was the case with PlayStation VR, we had a ton of releases come out. Hello Neighbor, again, Search and Rescue. Again, not really going to be a nominee based on... based on the kind of state of the game when it launched. I also have Rogue Ascent VR on here, which, don't get me wrong, or correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but this actually had a pretty good launch this month, didn't it?
It did. It did really well. Going from App Lab to the Quest store proper. Yeah, it launched well, and the game is doing well. I think you're right, and the list here is, above that game, and I think most people would agree. I think you did the right thing.
Also, Survival Nation, actually getting better reviews than I had anticipated that it would. People were saying that it's a pretty solid game, but largely off of our radar. And I feel like the list that we've got here probably going to be a little bit more well received than even that game was. So starting off, as you can see on the screen here, our first nominee was Propagation Paradise Hotel. Here's the thing, Eric, like I really like this game, probably a little bit more than you and a little bit more than Ruuts. The issue that I have here with this specific nomination is that I played the Steam version, and we're talking about the Quest Game of the Month here. And from what you said, this is a different game on Quest than it was on PC.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even a particular fan of the graphics on PC, which a lot of people were more than me, and it was a huge downgrade when you went from PC to Quest. So, yeah, but I just wasn't.
But Root's not a bad game though. And, you know, graphics aside, which is the biggest difference between Quest and PC, the game plays pretty well. I mean, it has some fairly unique zombie mechanics, namely they don't die; they just get back up and come back. So it kind of you know it makes the game, it makes the pacing of the game a little bit different than what a typical zombie shooter would be, and I found it to be pretty fun.
Yeah, yeah, the gameplay is pretty good. The story, if you're going for an amazing story, it's not here. I mean, the story's okay. The acting is some of the worst I've ever seen, but I almost feel like it might have been by on purpose because I don't think anybody could act that badly, but probably did. But it actually was pretty cool. It had its good points, for sure. Definitely, I would call it the a poor man's version of Resident Evil 7. Like if you want to play that and you don't have money to get Resident Evil 7, this is a great way to scratch that itch a little bit. So
Yeah, a fun game, kind of short, bad voice acting with a decent story, nothing to write home about. But you know, the type of game that I dig. So again, I'm kind of the target for games like this, so it's not a surprise that I enjoyed my time in it.
It's
But
just that the hype killed this game for me.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's an okay game, but it was supposed to be fucking amazing, and it wasn't.
Yeah,
and
I think
the game you played, their first one, you really enjoyed, and you were hoping it was more like that as far as everything, right? So
Literally, if they gave me that game and it was still like I couldn't move, and you just gave me different environments, and you gave me like 5 of those, I'm blown away.
you know, I think they made a mistake here with how they marketed this game. They gave a certain handful of creators an exclusivity window to cover the game, and all of the early reviews of the game were paid reviews. And amazingly, the early reviews were all like overwhelmingly positive. So they built the game up to be something that was probably a bit more optimistic than it would have been naturally. So we had higher expectations for it when we played it than what should have been there.
Yep.
So, moving along, another Fisherman's Tale we just talked about on PlayStation VR 2, and I didn't play it on Quest, Eric, but from what I understand, it's pretty identical across all platforms.
Yep. I mean, I loaded it up just to check it out, and it seemed exactly the same.
So a great game. Again, clever puzzles, a great story, good level diversity, and a nice amount of game here. It takes 4 hours or so, or maybe even a little bit more to get through it. Solid title out on Quest 2 this past month. But then, Roots, we get into some Quest exclusive titles, which Quest is starting to once again do. It was, we had a lot of exclusives for them for a while there, and then it kind of dropped off. Now we're getting back into the Quest having some exclusive titles, and Crimen Mercenary Tales came out this past month from Carbon Studio, and again another solid title. Like the question here with this is Game of the Year contender, which your immediate knee jerk would say no. But then when you look at what else has come out on Quest lately, like who knows? We get a lot of titles that are kind of on this level, right?
yeah, absolutely. I thought this one was pretty unique. It was cool. I mean, the only thing that we really had bad to say about it is the gameplay seemed kind of samey after a couple levels, but I didn't play them all. I thought each story was unique, and I did enjoy my time in there. So definitely a solid title.
Probably the strength of the game, Eric, is just how unique one level and one story is from the last.
Yeah, it was okay. It was pretty good.
Definitely not Game of the Year.
I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. Yeah, it was good. It was all right.
It's fine, right? It was fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. Which is something else that we could say about EVERSLAUGHT Invasion. It's a pretty good game. EVERSLAUGHT, Ruuts and I had a chance to play EVERSLAUGHT Invasion this past week. Honestly, Ruuts, I feel like we probably should have played a little bit more because you can definitely see the potential in this title, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we only played a couple levels. It definitely could be way more than we thought. There's a progression system we didn't really get to see much of, but the movement that we loved about EVERSLAUGHT originally is still there with the grappling hook and the unique weapons. And I guess if you're using the parry like you're supposed to, the ammo is not a problem. But I don't use it like I'm supposed to. But yeah, no, it's definitely a solid title.
Eric, it's not exactly the same game that EVERSLAUGHT on PC was, but it still has that pace to it, that breakneck pace that it's intense the whole time that you're playing it. Did you have a chance to check out EVERSLAUGHT Invasion?
I have not. I have to yield to you guys on this one. I did not get a chance to get in there, and I couldn't even catch your I caught some of what you guys said last night, but not the whole thing, or on Friday night, because I was traveling, so I missed some of it. But yeah, I mean, it didn't sound like you had the best time in there, but it was okay. Another okay title.
Yeah, it was okay. I feel like it has the potential to be very good, but there were a couple of things about the experience. When you have a game that's paced like the way this one is paced at a breakneck speed, everything needs to work perfectly. You need to be able to the shield needs to be responsive enough that you can parry and time it perfectly. When your teammate goes down, you need to be able to seamlessly pick them up while you have enemies chasing you. So Ruuts, I have kind of a dilemma here where I feel like in terms of the state of the game on day one, another Fisherman's Tale is a much more polished, complete game than EVERSLAUGHT is. But we're talking about and we're trying to project the final state of the game and what it's going to be at the end of the year. And I feel like there's just a few things that they could polish up on EVERSLAUGHT and put it higher up on the list than a game like another Fisherman's Tale. So I kind of don't know which way to go here with this one.
Yeah.
Was this not full release? Was this?
Yeah, it's full release.
But there's just issue. They're gonna. That's the thing.
Yeah, but we can't. You can do that with every game, though, right?
Well, we do.
We do.
Yeah,
no, but I'm just saying. I mean, we usually try and save those for games that are in early access or, like to me, I can't reward a game company for not making the game right from the scratch. I can't do that. Like, I don't mind doing it when it's in early access because they're coming out and saying, look, our game's not ready. We need to get it out there. We know it's not ready. We're gonna work on it. We'll get it done. But if you're coming out and you're gonna go to App Lab. Like if you're not ready, then go to App Lab because there's a lot of companies out there to choose that path. And I don't want to go into a whole thing, but I don't know. I'm a little down on this game. The way it came out.
So the way we typically deal with this kind of situation is we'll reward the more polished game as being the winner. But if we feel like one of the other games has the potential through updates and patches to surpass the game that's the winner, then we'll name them the runner-up. And that way we can revisit it later in the year. That's the way we've always kind of dealt with this in the past. So I guess that's really the question is, do we just call another Fisherman's Tale the outright winner, or do we bring EVERSLAUGHT along for the ride?
I think it's good enough to give it a runners up and see what it's gonna do. Down the road. I guess if we're gonna be honest, I nothing against the Fisherman's Tale, but I can't see that at the end of the year being the game of the year.
Agreed.
Maybe, but I could see EVERSLAUGHT if they did change a few things. It could be a runner or a contender for game of the year.
Right. That's typically how I feel as well. Let's see what the community thinks about it. I just posted a poll. Quest 2 game of the month. Let's see what they have to say about it. Wolveraza says, just because you can wiggle kill ruins the game if you use it. You can get through entire swordsman game with face stab. Just don't. Have you played Swordsman, Wolvie, since they did the combat AI update? Because it was a lot easier to just stab people in the face before. Subsequently, Ruuts, who loves to be stabbed in the face.
My mom.
Yeah, she does. She gets kind of pissed if you don't.
But after the Swordsman update, it became much more difficult. The enemies had better head movement, and it was much more difficult to just kill them all the same way over and over again.
You know who else gives better head movement?
My
You
mom.
said it has better. Give.
Technically assesses this 3-person co-op. Now, I thought the game was built
only,
for
right?
two-player co-op, but I did notice, Roots, that when you're in the level selection lobby, that there are 3 podiums around that
Ooh.
thing for people to choose on.
Oh, so
So,
maybe this is
I
3
don't-
people. Maybe we need to check that out.
Let me see if there's anything on the store about that. If it isn't, I kind of feel like it was designed to be. It seems like it was meant to be for 3 players. We'll just check the Quest store out real quick while people do the voting on the thing.
I played this at Gamescom again, and I just can't believe that they I played this. It looks exactly the same to me that I played way back then. Like, and they still don't have this game right.
Yeah, it took
I mean,
a while for
this
it
is
to come
fast
out.
travel,
didn't it?
guys. I mean, this is I got to ask for more from fast travel in this.
Okay. Really quickly, this is a game that's developed by Mob X Studios, but you're right. Fast Travel is the publisher, and they did have their hands in this, so
And they
you
have
would expect
decisions
more
like,
from them.
yeah, fast travel can come out and say, look, this game's not ready. We need to wait, or we need to go to App Lab. Go to App Lab and work on it, and then launch later. I mean, I'd be down with that.
Army of 2, so yeah, 2 players can play this. For what it's worth, $25, 4.2 out of 5 with 56 ratings. 4.2 pretty good, 56 ratings, not the best.
That's light for a Quest.
Yeah, for a fast travel
Really
title,
light. Yeah.
that's kind of light, right?
Hmm.
Anyway, 64% of the people say that we're right to call Another Fisherman's Tale the winner. But I think you're right, Roots. I think that we should tag EVERSLAUGHT because I do want to get back in there and play a little bit more. Hopefully, they will update the game and give us a reason to pick it back up because I think there is fun to be had here, and we probably should have given it a little bit more time. Again, though, I mean, the thing gets hairy pretty quickly, and when you end up, your run gets killed because of jank in the gameplay, that's never a good look. It isn't something that inspires you exactly to want to come back.
No.
So give me just a moment here while I update the standings, and we will move on to the next platform. All right. Awesome. Thank you for your patience. Patience, ladies and gentlemen. All right, moving on to PCVR. With such a heavy release schedule in May across all of VR, I think maybe the most surprising aspect of all of it was just how many games came to PCVR. And I said 9 made my original list. There was probably 3 or 4 titles on Steam that I'd never heard of that didn't make the initial list. Games that I'd never heard of that looked good. Like there are good games or good looking games on Steam that we have never even mentioned once on this show, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, that's ugly. We don't know about them. That's ugly.
They need proper representation, don't they, Eric?
They do big time.
They need people to help them get the word out about their cool, awesome VR games.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't know about them, how do you expect anybody else to know about them?
That's right. Like we cover everything on this channel, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they literally must have made no effort, like no effort.
Well, I'll make no effort to go buy that game then.
Right. Well, we'll play it when it comes to Viport, right?
There you go.
Anyway, second verse, same as the first. Hello Neighbor Search and Rescue came to PCVR. We omitted it from this discussion for similar reasons that we omitted it from the previous discussions. X8 came out on Steam this past month, and for what it's worth, this game looks cool. I think it's free to play right now, and I think it's something people should be checking out, but we disqualified it on the basis of being early access. When this game comes out of early access, if it has any kind of momentum behind it, we will cover it then and give it its proper due. Eric, did you know Forever Pool came to Steam this past month?
I did not. That's another one. I hadn't heard anything about it. I mean, I know it was on Quest, but I had no idea.
Yeah, pretty solid title. When it launched on Quest, I tried it out. There were a couple of things I felt like needed polished up but for the most part, a solid billiards game for Quest. But again, casual multiplayer games not typically something that win Game of the Month with us. So yeah, that one got left behind. And then Humanity, I excluded Humanity from this particular discussion, not only because there's a pretty strong lineup of games on PCVR this month, but Humanity, even though it's on Steam, it was primarily known for being a PlayStation game, and that's where most of the praise is coming from, is from PlayStation. So we left that one behind. So to kick off PCVR, we start with another game that we've already talked about, Propagation Paradise Hotel. And again, Ruuts, like a solid game, which, obviously looks a lot better. Looks pretty damn good, actually, on PC.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked pretty good. And definitely was a solid game.
But, Eric, if we're going to talk about zombie games on PCVR, REQUISITION VR came out this month. And for what it's worth, I mean, we had a lot of criticism about Propagation being a little bit cookie cutter. REQUISITION is not cookie cutter, is it?
No, definitely not cookie cutter. It's weird. I think I need to get back into this game. I mean, we checked it out early on, and I didn't have a ton of good vibes with this game.
Yeah, I like the concept of being able to craft weapons, but at least in its early state, there was no advantage to doing it. Like,
No.
it seemed like a gimmick, right? It didn't seem like something that was central to the gameplay. It seemed like, when the zombies start rolling in, like trying to make a basketball knife is not what you're thinking about doing. You're going to grab something and smash them or shoot them. But with that said, what you said was true. Like, this game has received 2 major updates since we played it, and now another major update as it leaves early access and goes into full release. I thought it was a pretty solid game. I would like to get back in it and try it out a little bit more to see how different it plays now than it did initially.
Yeah, hopefully they took Eric's criticism to heart, because one of the biggest things that we said, or he said, is true. Like, there was absolutely no reason really to make a weapon. Like, you could grab a stick and kill with a stick, and it's like, well, why am I making this elaborate fucking concoction? This, outside of being cool to make a weapon that's doing weird stuff, but if you don't need to it, then it kind of diminishes the game. So hopefully they fix that in the updates.
Yeah, I didn't really like making the weapons, but what I did really like was the traps. Now, I did like that kind of Home Alone aspect of it, where you can make explosive traps and different things for them to walk in and trigger. But even at that, as cool as they were, like, typically you'll have like 10 zombies coming after you, and your trap will take out the first 2 or 3, and then you're sitting there with still a horde coming after you. So I don't know. It's a bit of a mixed bag with this one.
Yeah.
Another Fisherman's Tale, again, multi-platform release, solid on all platforms, pretty similar situation. Quest 2 Game of the Month, this one. So, I mean, of course, we would want it to be nominated for PCVR as well. But here's my question to you, Ruuts. If we're going to give or consider a puzzle game for PCVR Game of the Month, then I think we should probably give a little more consideration to a game like Firmament, which also launched on PCVR this month and is a much more elaborate, much more high quality in terms of production value. I mean, this game is beautiful in VR and has some pretty clever puzzles as well.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's just hands down the game of the month, and I could say it's not because it's going up against amazing games that it's beating out. it's because it's better than the other games. I mean, Fisherman's Tale is probably the closest one that could have came close to this, and it's not even close. I mean, this is, it's Firmament. It may not be ever. If you're not a puzzle person, you may not like this game. I know Mash is not a big fan of it, or at least that's what Ryan Brandon and everybody was discussing in the chat. But I think it's a solid puzzle game if you like puzzle games. Yeah.
So you spent some time in Firmament, Eric, or no?
Yeah, I did a little bit. It was okay. Again, it's just not my game. I mean, I get it. I mean, and I do I want, if this was more like an adventure puzzle game, I'm just not a pure puzzle game fan. And when they get to the point where I have to really and put an invested time into figuring things out to where things get frustrating, or if I have to read a ton, I'm out. I don't want to do it. And so that's where I kind of dig these games a little bit, but I mean, that's okay. I mean, the quality of this game, I think, deserves probably Game of the Month over everything else that's here. There's nothing else here that I would want to fight for. Maybe a Fisherman's Tale, just because I think it's a cool, quirky game, and the way they changed the entire game mechanic from the first game to the second game, I thought was freaking amazing, the way they did that. But I have no problem going Firmament here, just because the production value is here. And, I don't know. If I had more time to spend in puzzle games, I guess I'd probably like it more.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I'm a little bit surprised to hear you say that, because I feel like this game is a little bit of a departure from your typical cyan puzzle game, and the things that they kind of change up in it are the very things that you typically are critical of. There's a little bit of reading in it, but none of it's kind of central to what you're doing. You don't have to read anything to figure the puzzles out. And the story
there's
is
a ton of reading though if you want to, though. There was a couple of things I was I'm not going through.
Well, there's always people that like Scion or West that really want to go really deep into the story. You know what I mean? There's extra lore and it's everywhere, right. But you don't have to read it. And I guarantee you, I would not read it. That's just me.
Right. There was 3 books, and they were books. You had to read through them. But they were all optional things. That was all just contextual backstory stuff. Nothing that's really central to the game. The main story of the game's told through narration, and the puzzles were the kind of the part that I didn't like as much as the rest of it, because they're more like physical puzzles. There wasn't really much of a question on what you're supposed to do ever. It's just, how do you do it? How do you get the box around the mountain face? Things like that. Which it is a bit tedious, and again, I didn't particularly care for it, but I thought that maybe you guys would appreciate that a little bit more than I did. So.
Yeah,
I did not like it. Yeah, I did not like it. It's just it didn't wow me. You know what I mean? That's but again, I don't have a lot of time with these titles, and I didn't put a lot of time in it, so it's even tough for me. That's why I'm I don't mind voting for it, because I thought it was beautiful, and I didn't spend a ton of time in it. I maybe spent 45 minutes to an hour. And if I had more time to get in there and do more, I'm sure I probably would have liked it more. It's just
being game of the month, you're gonna get a chance to go back in before the end of the year, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So as far as our list goes of nominees, this is definitely the most polished, biggest budget game on the list. This is for what it's worth, this is a flat game that was built with VR in mind. And it's the only game that feels kind of on that level of a traditional big release. But it's not the last nominee. We did have one more, and we're going to move back into the realm of zombie shooters for a moment, because Death Horizon Reloaded came to Steam this past month. And this is a game that started out as a 3 Degrees of Freedom Gear VR game that was remade on Quest to be a full 6DOF zombie shooter, something in the vein of a Killing Floor Incursion or a Arizona Sunshine type co-op campaign that you can play through. Ruuts, we played this together on Quest and had a pretty good time with it.
Yeah, it's definitely like you were saying, it's one of those games that we played through that we didn't actually get to finish, because at the time didn't have a final level, right? So now it's got that final level. Definitely a cool zombie type of shooter. One of the few co-ops that you can go out and play and just enjoy with a friend, right? So,
Right. And Eric, I mean, I wouldn't quite put this on the level of a bigger budget title like Arizona Sunshine came from a bigger studio and had a bigger team behind it. But for someone like us who enjoyed Arizona Sunshine and played through it multiple times, if you want something different to go through, if you like that kind of zombie shooter type game that you walk through a story driven linear title, this is a pretty solid time, right?
Yeah, this is great, and I can't wait to get back and do the final chapter. I've done it a few different times, and to see it on Steam now too. I'm excited to try to check it out. And they've been working on this game forever, man. It's like they never give this game up.
Yeah, they're working on a mixed reality title for the new Quest headset. Another Death Horizon zombie game.
That'll be cool, man. I'm down.
Yeah, I am as well. But I'm with you, man. Like, I enjoyed playing through the first 4 levels. I look forward to getting back and playing through them again just so I can get that 5th level. Apparently, the 5th level is by far like the most large and expansive level of the game. There are new weapon mechanics since we played it last. It's a bit of a different game even than it was a year and a half ago when we last played it. And I was expecting them to say that it's just a straight port. There's no difference between any of the platforms, but apparently there is some amount of visual upgrade, and you can see it in this video. They do a couple side by sides, and it's pretty obvious that the lighting and textures are improved on Steam, which is cool, right?
yeah. Was that for me or was that for Mash?
It was rhetorical.
Oh, okay. I think it's really cool. But
anyway, yeah, Death Horizon's a great game. I look forward to getting back in and playing through the final chapter. With that said, I think that there's a pretty clear game of the month here, and it's the one that has the most budget and time and polish put behind it, and that's Firmament. And I believe you guys have already said that's the way your vote goes. So
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, it's a game I definitely want to get back into, especially after I heard Wes say that the puzzles are. What I heard is they're logical puzzles, because like you just walk up to it and you look at it and you're like, okay, this is what your mind starts to work out what you would do in real life, right? Because some of the puzzles in puzzle games, especially with the last Cyan game, like where the fuck would I use this puzzle making or this solving ever in my real life? Like some of those puzzles were so outside the box and really took a lot of. You really did have to read everything in that. What was the last one? The one that started out
Missed.
flat? No, the other one.
You're talking about Abduction?
Yeah, Abduction. I felt like Abduction was a little bit harder than Mist in a way because it really did rely on you reading all sorts of shit and figuring a bunch of stuff out. It was a cooler story than Mist.
It's my favorite one.
Yeah.
Out of the 3, that's my favorite one to play in VR was Abduction.
It was cool.
It was really good. Anyway, Firmament, our winner. Definitely, I feel like a nominee for Game of the Year and a game that we will be revisiting as the year goes on. And that concludes Game of the Month for May. We did it. We made it through it, guys.
Nice.
We did it! Oh my god,
We're all
I feel so
caught
much
up.
better. Thank God.
All caught up.
All right, and that brings us to the week's reminders. We're going to start off the way that we always do by taking a look at what's out this week. And you know what, Ruuts? If there's one thing that VR needs more of, especially PSVR 2, it's zombie shooters. Survive or Serve 1v3 is coming to PSVR 2 this week, June 16th, 5 days from now. This game comes out. And, I think, Eric, the kind of question here isn't, whether or not this is a good game. I mean, it's a pretty expansive map that's very explorable. You can go into the houses. It's a big map. It's a fully featured co-op campaign game. All of that stuff, all of these boxes they had already checked off. What I want to know is, can all three of us easily get in a game together?
That's a good question. I would love to. That would be that would almost give me the vote right there. If it, like we need to be able to get in there and play together. Co-op works better if you can actually do it.
Yeah. Or I could just end up me and Wolveraza and some dude who just happened to figure out what our password was. It could be another one of those situations.
That was weird. Wasn't that weird?
It was weird that some rando joined our private room, but we couldn't get you in there.
That was what was the weirdest. I'm like, well, I can't get in. Oh wait, this rando guy got in. How did that happen?
Oh crap! I just realized I didn't give you a scene for the next release. Did you?
That's all right.
Did you find something?
No, I just put it. I just did it the trailer again, old school style.
All right, cool. So Survive coming this week to PSVR 2. Good news for those of you who picked it up on PSVR 1. This is a free upgrade. And to be honest, we were kind of taking a wait and see approach from the PSVR 1 version that was a little rough around the edges. We were waiting to see what these developers, candy makers, are going to be able to do with the power of the PlayStation 5 and PSVR 2 headset. And we're not going to have to wait very long because this game launches in just a few days. But with that said, there's something else notable launching this week, and I have a feeling that a lot of you are going to be playing this instead.
Good morning. Live streaming.
Video games. They seem to have captured America's imagination.
My name is Barbara, but you can call me Bug. I just started a new job at this place called Atari. They've been working on this cool new thing called video games. Feels like it's really gonna catch on.
Electronic games being this year's bestseller.
No other video game company stacks up to Atari.
I'm building a brand new game. Oh, and this is Dot. I created her. Isn't she rad? It's a little rough around the edges. Glitches, broken code, stuff like that. It's not all fun and games being a programmer. So I invented this nifty device that allows me to go into the game. You know, patch things up from the inside. Good thing I've got Dot, because sometimes the bugs can be a real problem. Looks like I've got my work cut out for me. Good thing it's 1978 and this technology is on the cutting edge.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Pixel Ripped 1978 launching on all major VR platforms this week. A popular VR gaming franchise coming with what's probably going to go down as the best chapter yet. Eric, we had a chance to play this game at GDC in March, and I was blown away. Super fun, the demo that we were able to play on PlayStation VR 2.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was great playing it there. I mean, we got a small demo, just give you an idea of like kind of like what it was going to be all about, and you know, just seeing Atari back in the space is amazing enough for me. But then seeing that, you know, wrapped around the pixel ripped format of a game, I mean, it's amazing. And I just love these cartridges like this. I mean, it's an Atari cartridge. It says Pixel Ripped. It's cool, man.
Retro
cool.
retro nostalgia out the ass with this one, Ruuts, as we're traveling back in time to the 70s. I don't even remember these years, but it still seems like I've been there before.
Yeah, super cool. We've like most of us have played Atari, and so just getting to do that, getting to actually use Atari, the brand name instead of a knockoff, and actual Atari titles, that's huge. And this is huge for Atari. You know, they're getting reintroduced to it, you know, back out there into the VR world. Maybe they start making VR games. How cool would that be? So who knows?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they kind of are. They're not making it, but they're very much publishing this and have their hands all over this project. It's one of the coolest things about it. But I'm worried, Ruuts. I mean, now the Yar is going to be trying to get its revenge on me. I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, I don't think that's acceptable.
Anyway, Yar's revenge will be felt upon all major VR platforms this Thursday, I think, is when this game launches. So you all keep your eyes open, and as well as your wallets. And I'm sure that this is going to be one that we talk about probably this week on Strangers in the Night. So again, if you guys are interested in this and you want to know more, stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, ring the bell. We will be revisiting this title the next time you see us. Anyway, that's what's out this week. There was some other BS, but we don't talk about the BS, man. We only bring the goods. And with that said, let's take a look at some viewer comments. This is a segment we started last week, Eric. You know, we get so many awesome comments on these videos, and you know, for what it's worth, it helps us to defeat the evil YouTube algorithm. So we like to encourage people to leave these comments. So we pulled a few from the last couple of videos, and we're just going to take a look at them right now.
Ooh.
First one from 2112 ZOZ. Oh, what's up, Ruuts? Did you not catch the
No, I did. My thing is somebody suggested that I make the screen 1080 instead of 2K, and so they could see it. And once I did that, now all my windows are messed up. But now that it's fixed, they can actually read along with it.
All right.
So
cool. All right. 2112 ZOZ says, "Blah, Ruuts. I still have my robot with the 8-track cartridges you put in. He's called 2XL, and I love that damn toy. I'm 54 now, and my 15-year-old daughter still uses it. She loves it too. Awesome show as always."
that's awesome.
Hell yeah.
We were talking about this thing last week, and Ruuts was dating himself by talking about 8-tracks. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that robot, I just remember it as a kid. That was super cool.
Diego Darko left a comment on last week's video. It says, "Hey, VR studios, let virtual strangers do your ads. That Skydance ad was fire." Overwhelmingly positive, Ruuts, the reaction to my ad that I put together last week, which is cool because I wasn't sure how people were going to take it.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is, like, if you just actually had some random person read that ad, it wouldn't be in as good. And even if somebody random person stopped by and listened to that ad, they'd be like, "What the fuck?" But it adds people knowing you, knowing your personality and everything, just over the top. Like, it was already good, but because it's Lethal Weasel, basically, is how I read it. Was reading that ad, and it was perfect. It was really good.
Did you catch the ad I put out last week, Eric?
I did. It was really good. I mean, and not just we thought it was good. Everybody thought it was good. Even like other content creators that saw it were commenting on how good it was.
It was funny. Like, you know me, I got to try to make everything into a joke. So we did. It was a little sick, a little twisted, but that's what we do. It's our brand.
So yeah.
Derail says, Asgard's Wrath has always been my GOAT status game, but the sequel looks to adjust the combat to improvement. Asgard's Wrath was one of those games that transcended platforms as a great game and not just a great VR title. It sounds like an open area game which is what I prefer. So this is something, Eric, that we were kind of talking about on the last episode is, sure, moving to a standalone platform versus a PC platform, you're taking a little bit of a step back in terms of graphics. But with that said, the game does look good and improves on so many other things. I think that this is going to be a better game than the original Asgard's Wrath.
I do too. I mean, just the depth in this game, just from what they showed, seems like it's going to be. I mean, it was pretty deep too. I mean, it was 40+ hours the first game. So, but I think I don't know. I think you're going to be able to. I just have a feeling you're going to be able to get through those hours easier than you did in the last one. I think they're going to draw you through a little bit more. Like a lot of people had a tough time finishing the last game. I don't think we'll have that here.
No, that was kind of another point I was going to make. When we were having this discussion the other day, Ruuts, like when we're talking about, PCVR graphics whores, right? People who will claim a game isn't worth anything because it doesn't have the absolute best graphics that VR has to offer. Asgard's Wrath had those graphics, right? It was beautiful, still among the most beautiful games that we've seen. But most people didn't finish it, right? So how much are those graphics actually worth?
Absolutely. That was the theme across the board. It just was too long. It didn't do enough to pull you through. And even though it had 40 hours of content, I would submit that a lot of the content, in a sense, was a lot more shallow than this version is going to be. The gameplay wise will pull you through a lot more, and I look forward to it. So I think it'll be cool. Maybe I'll actually finish this one.
But it's clearly not as good though. You can see that from.
Oh yeah, the graphics, yeah, for sure. It's dog shit now. I'm not playing that game. It's all about the graphics. I don't even care about gameplay. That's not why we play games for gameplay. That's lame, dude. Just walk in there, look around, look at my hands a little bit, climb a ladder. I'm done.
Paddle a kayak around.
Yeah, just paddle a kayak and you're good to go.
That's it. That's all you need, man.
That's all you need.
Cook some burgers and fries.
Yeah, cheeseburgers in paradise.
Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome Tatum left this comment on our Synapse video we put out this week. It says, looks sweet. I'm playing it. I like the skill tree and the progression system. So, I tried to make a little chunk of the 12 minutes I was allowed to show that kind of shows off what the progression trees look like. And I'm glad Tatum picked up on that because it's one of the things that kind of sets this game apart from its predecessor, Fract.
Yeah.
So again, Eric, stuff that can go a lot of. If you don't have the longest game in terms of just how long it takes to get through the levels, it's nice to have this kind of system that forces you and gives you a lot of replay value, right?
Yeah, I mean, you need some of these things. You need some of this depth to get through these things, and a roguelite will help you definitely through that. So I love it. Progression, any kind of progression. Doesn't even have to be a roguelite. Just give me progression anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's one of the things that we kind of liked about that. What was that dinosaur game we played recently where we were hunting dinosaurs?
Yeah, that was pretty good. What the hell was that? It was good though. I remember. Yeah, I liked it actually.
Yeah, it was the progression system is what really made that so cool.
Yep.
You had to go back and upgrade. One last comment before we move on. Matty Fat Batcat, also on the Fract video, says the telekinesis could easily be done on Quest just by using the center of gaze instead of eye tracking, which is super accurate too. And this is one of the things, Ruuts, that I noticed when I was playing it. Like, yes, the game was completely built around the PSVR 2 specific features, but you could see, even in like the settings, there was a setting to make the telekinesis based on where you point your hands instead of where you're looking. So I could definitely see at some point, even though this is a Sony funded game, it's an exclusive for PSVR 2. So was Fract for a while. And then it came to other platforms. So I could see this definitely coming to other platforms someday.
If we're going by that specific example, absolutely. Why would this not? Unless Sony said, no, you're not. And they didn't for the first one. So I doubt that this deal is very much different. Although, you would have to have that hand telekinesis in there either way, because there are people that refuse to use eye tracking. And so, you know what I mean? So you kind of have to throw them a bone. So, but I do agree. I think it's coming.
But I will say this, Eric. This comment is in the context of it coming to Quest instead of PC. I don't think people understand just how detailed this game looks. It doesn't quite come across in the flat promo footage. Everything just looks black and white. But in the game, highly reflective surfaces with a lot of high resolution texture detail. And as we just mentioned a moment ago, if you're taking a step back in graphics, then the game is just garbage.
Of course.
Why would you Quest 3. That's gonna be the next. That's gonna be the next 7-8 months or however long till it comes out. Every game that gets dog shitted for Quest 2, everybody's gonna say, "Well, there's Quest 3." Right. Maybe not. Just because the Quest 3 is coming out doesn't mean that developers are bringing this over to it. Although I'm sure In Dreams will.
But it's the circle of life, Ruuts. Even when there's a Quest 3, then there's going to be a 5090. And if it's not 5090, it's garbage.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. 100%.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Moving along, we are now coming to the part of the show where we ask all of you to do your part to help support the awesome game developers out there by taking just a moment of your time with us right now to wishlist the game or leave a review. If you have a few minutes, maybe leave a review. But these things are very important to help these games be discovered on the store. There's a reason why these developers are always asking people to wishlist the game. It's because it really, really matters. So I've already wishlisted like 5 games today. And it was part of a science experiment, Eric, because so this is what happened. When I was doing the research for Game of the Month, I saw Death Horizon on the Steam store, and I thought, can we nominate this if it's already been out on Rift? But I couldn't remember if it was out on Rift or not, so that's why I went to the Rift store. And you know what the first title I saw when I clicked on the Rift store was?
Ashiwash?
Asgard's Wrath 2.
Really?
And I said, holy shit, why is this popping up on there? Now listen. That was the first game that popped up on my feed on the Rift store. It was under the category Your Wish List. So I was like, well, that's weird. Why is it popping up? It's the only title that's popping up in my wish list. But this is the Rift store, not the Quest store. So what I did is I went back to the Quest store and I wish listed a bunch of games that I'm looking forward to, that I know are Quest exclusive. Then I went back to the Rift store, and sure enough, all those Quest games came over to the Rift store with me.
That's bullshit.
Makes you think that maybe they're combining again. They're getting, eventually it's all coming to one, and they're shifting people over to from the PC to this, the
Link store.
Yeah.
I mean, that would. I want that. I want them to get rid of the Rift store and make it something else. But I wanted to do it in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way that gives us more graphics in our games. We need that. Yeah. But for the record, give me just a moment, and I will tell you all what I wishlisted today. Ruuts, what are you wishlisting?
What am I wishlisting?
We got Hellsweeper on there we talked about. We got Pixel Ripped we just talked about. We got Synapse that we talked about today. We talked about Crossfire Sierra Squad, which you can wishlist on Steam now, I think. Yeah.
They all should be wishlisted.
I agree.
I'm doing Crossfire Sierra Squad right now because I didn't have it in there. I already have Hellsweepers. I can't do it.
Can't you add it and then add it again? No, I was just kidding. What's the point of that? Ceremony.
It works in the.
How about Synapse?
Oh yeah, there's a good
true.
one. So I wishlisted Stranger Things VR, Pixel Ripped 1978, I Expect You to Die 3, The Cog in the Machine, and Stack.
Cool. I did.
So you all. Thank you to those of you who did your part to help support the devs out there. Please let us know in the comments down below what you wishlisted, and maybe we'll read your comment off on the show next week. All right, and with that said, that brings us to our final reminder this week and every week, and that is how you can do your part to help support us, help our channel grow, and our community thrive. Of course, if you haven't already, the most important thing that you could do is click the subscribe button and, of course, ring the bell so that you can be notified when we go live or when we do a pre-recorded video, which might be something that I do more of these days as I start to shake off those cobwebs and rust and get back into that whole mindset. I had fun shooting that video, although I think it's the first time I've ever scripted a voiceover for a video. I'd never done that before. It's a bit of a different process.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yep. Of course, if you're already subscribed and like to do a little something extra, you can support us on Patreon, where for only $3 per month, you get access to our weekly show notes. You get exclusive content and insider updates, all for less than $1 per week. And you get to feel good about yourself knowing that you did your part to help us buy Apple Vision Pro. Are we going to just get one and share it, guys? Is that how that's going to
rotate it? Well, no, Eric's already said he's buying one, so he's out.
Actually, what Eric said was he has to figure out a way to get one.
Well, he knows. He knows.
Getting one.
His wife said he's getting it. He knows. I think we should all get one. I don't know how. I don't know how, but we should all do it.
We have to go start taking clients under the bridge, right?
That's right.
Who doesn't?
That's true.
Anyway, if you don't have enough free income to help support us in our endeavors here, we completely understand the situation, the financial situation in the world right now. But the good news is you do not need a cent to join us on the Virtual Strangers Discord. There's an invitation link in the description down below. This is where we live. We are there 24/7, 365, lurking, sharing music, sharing comedy, talking about VR, watching the bad guys chase criminals on the Police Chases channel. It's a good time. It's a family atmosphere, and most of the time things are pretty calm, although it does pop off every now and again, right, Ruuts?
Yeah, well, so does family. You can't have family be under one roof without, little squabbles happen now and then. It's just how people handle it and squashing it quick, because this is the reality of life. Is there's what happened, and then there's what your interpretation of what happened, and sometimes they don't match up, and you have to be man enough or woman enough to realize and apologize and squash it and move on. That's what I do. Anyway.
Yeah,
me too.
Eric, if there's no conflict, then that just means you don't care, right?
That's true.
That's it. You need more passion. Get off your ass and get more passion for whatever you're doing.
That's right.
You know who loves it when you have more passion?
My mom!
Yeah, purple passion specifically. Trying to get you drunk.
Oh, brother. All right. And with that, I think that's our show. We'd like to thank you all once again for watching. For Ruuts and Eric, I am Wes. We will see you in a couple days. Bye.
Take it easy.
See you later.